It is Tuesday night, and we have hit a milestone. This is episode 100 of Goal Horns and Fight Songs. I am mostly surprised that Wes has put up with me for this long and all of my shenanigans. Um, but we've made it 100 episodes. Missed a few in there, but roughly about a year and a half of us talking NCHC hockey officially instead of just, well, you're yelling at me on Chell.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. Sounds about right. Definitely missed some. Also this week we put up our first episode of That's Effing Teamwork. So some clips that I felt it showed off the teamwork that it takes to win some hockey games, or at least partake in some hockey games. I think there was a couple clips that were from the losing side of games, but so we're gonna try and do that more frequently as it happens.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little easier when I'm not at my parents' house trying to kill a deer, which I still have not seen one in a few years. But that's okay. I'm back at it. I can now have my 50-inch TV, UMD game, and then NCHC TV have the other three ones going on at the same time. So we're good there.
Luckily, I've made it another year without hitting a deer with my car on opening day, so that is a 6-year streak going, and I'm happy about that.
If you had it, I'd take it, as long as he didn't like run over the middle. So anyway, we are going to just jump right into it because we do have a special guest coming on in about 20 minutes. So I think we should just kind of recap the games for what we had. And first off is your Western Michigan Broncos this week against
Colorado College. They got
Colorado College. I
back
can
to their
remember who you played.
they got back to their winning ways. Even though I might have slightly questioned the boys, that was a mistake. They were without Ethan Phillips. And I heard that he may have sustained a shoulder injury the week before, and it kept him out of the series with Colorado. He is expected to be back this weekend as we go back to non-conference play. So he'll be back. Bump stepped up to the first line with Granger and went and played extremely well. Granger played extremely well, having 7 points on the weekend, accounting at least in some part of all 7 goals that Western scored. Defense really showed up and played well. The PK went 10 for 10, which you never want to take 10 penalties in a weekend. Some of them, I think, were some iffy calls. Again, I'm not entirely sure what a penalty is in this conference anymore, but I disagreed with a few, agreed with some others. Either way, the boys kept the puck out of the net. Cameron Rowe showed up big, had a shutout in game 2, his first of the season. He seems to be getting back into form. The team started out a little slow, and really they did this last year too, and it was about now that things started clicking a little bit more. Really, the second half of the season is when they turned it on and jumped up their play. So, I'm glad we're moving in the right direction and here through the first part of we're 500 in the conference. I think technically like an overtime loss. So 3-2-1. But we're looking pretty good. Things are happening. Things are coming together. And again, we get Phillips back this weekend. The offense is coming around. Maybe not quite the high-powered offense that some were hoping for, but I think, they're doing what they can, and they're showing once again that this team and this coaching staff can get the best out of their players. They lost a first line that accounted for like 138 points last year between Poland, McAllister, and Sasson, and that's really hard to replace. And yet the top line once again is showing up, and guys are taking another step and fighting for pro contracts and showing why they will deserve them at the end of the year. So everything's going well for Western Michigan right now, and they still seem to have and Berko's number, even though he made some incredible saves on the weekend again. Um, both teams missed some opportunities. There were chances for Colorado College, especially in game one, that they easily could have won that game. And it just seemed like Western wanted it more. I think even their coach said like they have to find ways of playing through the Western defense that they just weren't willing to do this weekend for whatever reason. So a little bit of a step back for Colorado College.
I think Colorado College, they're and I'm just gonna give my point quickly. Um, we both had Western sweeping. We thought that Western would take the weekend, and Colorado College, they're just not quite there yet. I do think it is a step back. They, if they were moving in the right direction, which they seem to have been, uh, they would have had the split. But then again, like you said, this time of year, Western kind of took over last year, and Colorado College didn't come on till the end. I think they're still trying to figure themselves out, and Western is just a more talented team overall, and they took those couple weeks to gel. And I do think Colorado College was probably a perfect team for them to play. Uh, moving forward, my Bulldogs, we have had one hell of a stretch. We had the Gophers, an old WCHA rival. We had the Fighting Hawks from North Dakota last weekend, an old WCHA rival and current NCHC rival. And then we drew the Huskies of St. Cloud. That's a tough way to begin your season. And it was 2-1 and 5-4, I believe, or no, 6-5. Six
Game
five was
two
Saturday.
was where'd it go? Nope, I'm too far. I'm back at North Dakota's games. 2-1 Friday and yeah, 6-5
6-5.
Saturday. Both games, dude. These games were so good. Both back and forth games. It was like punch counter punch the whole night. Um, honestly, I think Duluth really looked better the second game. They just couldn't ever expand their and build a lead because twice in the final minute, in the final minute of the first, and I think in the last 10 seconds of the first period, they tie it at 3-3. They do it again in the last minute of the second period. Like those boys never quit on like, and they
No.
definitely like Thiessen played extremely well. I mean, yes, you're gonna say like 6 goals. He played well. He played well. It was pressure on both ends of the ice. A couple of good passes here and there. So I think there's even a clip of Minnesota defense like in the teamwork plays, like guys just trying to eat pucks and clear the zone, and it's just constant pressure. But they're able to do it and give them at least a little bit of a breather. But honestly, this weekend was everything you expect out of these two teams. Like, it doesn't matter where they're at in the standings. St. Cloud is at the top of them right now, undefeated through 6 games of conference play. Duluth is hanging out down there with Miami, 0-4 right now, but they did not look like an 0-4 team this weekend and played the Huskies extremely tough. And it was literally, this time, no pun intended, but it was the dogfight that like we thought it was going to be. And both teams came out with everything they had. And both games could have gone
Yeah.
either way.
Yeah, and Friday night, the end of the game, we were dealing with, I think Low Height got suspended um for something that happened Friday, which
Yes,
I didn't see,
he was
but
suspended
it
for an altercation at the 20-minute mark of the third period. So it was literally after the game was
yeah,
over. I think he
yeah,
cross-checked somebody. So he got suspended for Saturday. He'll be able to come back this weekend on
yeah,
Friday.
it was what you expect a rivalry game to be on Friday. They were chippy, they were physical. It was everything that you want in a rivalry game. And I think now it has finally built into it, especially the last couple years where the previous two we played each other 12 times
Yeah.
in in
2 seasons.
a 2-year span. Like that's going to build up some chippiness, and these guys they know each other. It's going to build up to that. I think there are two things that I took away from it, and one, as I was driving up Friday, um, Bruce Siski, he's like, I don't want to be that guy, and I know it's cliche. I don't want this to be a key to the game, but stay out of the box. Well, we're not very good at that. We take a lot of penalties. We're one of the most highly penalized teams, and that bit us in the butt both both games. But two, it's still proving that we're a team that if we get a lead, we can hold it. But if we don't, we can't hold it. And we don't have the offensive firepower to come back necessarily. We did prove that opinion a little bit wrong this last weekend, but still, I just don't think we can do. We have to jump out to an early start, and Thiessen has played a lot better. It has nothing to do with him. You give up 6 goals. He's played incredible over these last couple weeks. Not much you can do when you're shorthanded as much as we are.
Yeah, no, you definitely got to quit taking those penalties.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll let Wally try and connect here a little bit. Looks like he's connecting with his audio. But we'll run through the other 2 games, their series, real quick. Denver
Yeah.
and Omaha. Do not let Denver get rolling. Omaha had leads in both of these games. Denver came storming back. Omaha did earn the split. Saturday's game was a weird one. They had to postpone the game going into the second intermission because of an ice issue. They ended up picking that game up on Sunday in the second period when it was still scoreless. So they got 2 periods of play on Sunday, and Omaha picks up the win 4-3 there after being up, I think, 3-0. Most of the goals scored in the second period of that one.
And then Miami did Miami things and got swept by North Dakota. So
I don't know.
overall,
You can't say Miami did Miami things because Miami played extremely well. They just, especially the first game, it was closer than I thought. Ludwig just knows his former team and played well.
yeah, but really quickly, I did gain a game on you. You had Omaha getting swept. I had them getting split. So right now I am 41-32, and you are 42-31.
Nice. All right. Joining the show now, our guest of the honor, a Western.
Are you guys recording like right now?
Oh, we are live, my friend. We were talking about the previous weekend.
Oh, interesting.
So,
Hey, I felt it would be disrespectful.
Hey, cheers. I got my sponsor's beer here, which is Grey Matter Beer in Kincardine, Ontario. I got a Checkmate, and guess what, folks? I drink beer for free in my shed with my friends.
Awesome.
Imagine that.
All right. Well, now that we've ruined the intro, let me go through with what I got here. He is a 2-time goal leader for the Western Michigan Broncos in 04 and 05 in the 05-06 season. A 2-time assist or a 1-time assist leader in the 04-05 season. A 2-time point leader for the Broncos 04 through 06. Averaged 1.01 points per game, which is good for 23rd all time, right behind Jamal Mayers. Is a 2-year alternate captain, a all CCHA second team member of the 04-05 season, a 2-time Rob Hodge MVP, a 2-time Vic Vanderberg top scorer. He played in the ECHL, the AHL, the Deutsche 2 League, Denmark, and the EIHL in England. And he is the host of his own podcast, 2 Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally, which just released its 340th episode. And he joins us losers who are on our 100th episode.
Yeah, I've done a few of them. Yeah, I when I retired from the game, I missed the game and mainly my friends. I moved to rural Ontario again. And I needed to entertain myself, and I wanted to see my friends. And once I started talking to my friends in my shed, I can't stop. I love it. My hockey family has exploded. I got people all over the world that listening, and it's been as fun of a ride as it can be.
Yeah, no, I listen all the time. I listened to your podcast today, and we received a great shout out, so I appreciate that.
Of
Um,
course. Thanks for having me on.
oh heck yeah, man! Western's celebrating its 50 years of varsity hockey. You were here for 4 of them. We just missed each other. I got here in the fall of '07, so right
Okay.
after you had left to take on your pro career. Um, but yeah, so how does a Ontario guy end up at Western Michigan instead of the college or the Canadian, either college or the Canadian ranks of hockey?
Well, I guess the other option back in the day was, or still is the OHL for a guy like me. So I was drafted to the Brampton Battalion, 8th round, or actually I was the very last pick of the draft. It was the year they were switching to a Bantam draft. So I went there. I went to their training camp, and then there was a summer one, and I played well. And then I went back for the training camp thinking I wasn't going to make the team. I was the last pick of the draft, and I was just going there for the ice time and for fun. And they moved me right in with Billet, with a Billet family, and the Billet family said I'd played so well in the summer, I was on the team, and like that, it was like a done deal. And I was like, whoa, hold on! Like I wanted to get a scholarship, and I wanted to try that because I had seen my Elmira Sure King team I grew up idolizing and then playing for. I saw Rob Collins, who went to Ferris State. I saw Brandon Dietrich, who went to St. Lawrence. And I got to go watch them play NCAA games. And I saw the atmosphere. I saw the student sections. And I knew that's deep down what I wanted to do, not the OHL. So when I had the decision, I either had to leave or stay after 48 hours. I had a good heart to heart with the coach, Stan Butler, who is a great guy. He understood my side. He said, if you're not sure, go home and you can always come back if you change your mind. And they did call me later that season. And by that time, I got to know Chris Brooks and I had the deal done with Western Michigan. And I knew where I was going.
Mike, anything? You looked like you had a question.
No,
I
well,
can keep rambling too. I talk a lot on my
I,
shed.
I'm just trying to like, I'm trying to get up some of our 1T warm ups that we
Oh
had.
yeah, we
'Cause
completely skipped those. So
yeah, I was like,
you know what?
Jesus, Wes, you kind of fucked this one up.
Everything got thrown off. We're not used to having guests in the middle of shows, but or the season here. So
Was
what
I
we do?
supposed to be ready for 9? I'm
No,
sorry.
no, 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 no. We said 9:30. We were gonna try and get our normal uh show stuff kind of out of the way, and then we could just jump in with you.
Well, I mean, I'm the Minnesota guy, so I throw everything off, and then, I mean, technically, I'm just gonna throw this out there. I said Wes is gonna be pissed off. You're Canadian. I consider myself South Canadian because I'm from northern Minnesota. So I'm
Yeah.
like, our accents are just gonna piss him off.
No, I'm used to people having different accents. I mean, if it's in Germany and Britain, accents aren't really a thing to me.
Yeah,
But I
because
usually can pick up where you're from when you speak.
All right. So what
because
we
I was
usually
just
do?
Do you
watching
guys want your fun fact of the day? If you're from Minnesota, Mike
yeah.
Erickson transferred over to Western Michigan. I was the guy that took him out on his recruiting trip. We had a time. And then he transferred from winning the national title with University of Minnesota to Western Michigan, became my captain or our captain, and he is the person that brought beer darts to Western Michigan University. I'm not joking. Have you guys ever played beer darts? Because it was Mike
Oh
Erickson, the
yeah.
captain. He was the one that brought it. It never existed on
Uh,
campus until he came and said, fellas, check this out. And then we played it with every person we could bring to the party.
where was he from? Because that name sounds really
Eden
familiar.
Prairie, Minnesota.
Oh, he's from Eden. Oh, he's a city. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Let's get the show back on track here, Mike. All right. So what we
I'm
do is
sorry.
we start with 1T warm ups to kind of break the ice, but we've already done that here. But we're gonna shoot them at you anyway. What is your favorite chirp either you've delivered or you've had delivered to you?
Uh, the best? I don't know what the best is. I remember the most memorable.
Perfect.
It was actually playing in the East Coast semifinals against the Florida Everblades, and it was Game 7. And it had been a heated series, great hockey, and I usually didn't say things just to say things, and we went out for a penalty kill, and the guy standing on the other side at the faceoff dot, like I said to him, like, you're actually out here on the power play? And he just looked at me and didn't say anything back. And then that night we win Game 7, and I end up back at the other team's party with a few of my teammates. and it's that guy's apartment, and he hands me a beer and says, "So you really don't think I should be on the power play?" And I could just see the look on his face that he's like, "You're a punk for saying that." And I felt horrible, and I never trash talked again.
You
I was
really
never
hurt his
mean again.
feelings.
I felt bad. Because he should have been on the power play, and he was good enough.
You demoralized that man for that 2-minute power play.
You
Hey,
ended his
hey.
career right there.
Hey, no, he actually went on to have a great career, be even better than mine. So, yeah, guess joke's on me, but we did win that game.
So my first one out of these three, out of the Hatties, uh, did you like going into a game with a pre-planned celly, or did you just like spur of the moment go in with it? Like whenever you score, you just went with
I
whatever you thought of.
yeah, I think there's punks that celebrate way too hard and too ridiculous. I like to act like I'd done it before. If someone would give me a good pass, I'd like to point at them and let them know I appreciated it. I didn't get too carried away, but back in my junior B days when we were on playoff runs and things were pretty exciting and you're 17 years old, I did used to, after big goals on the playoff run, I would hightail it. Like as soon as I scored, I would go full speed and I would jump into our bench and everybody would catch me and all my line mates would jump in too. And we'd literally jump into the bench over top. And it was pretty memorable stuff. And those are only for the big goals though.
That's terrific.
All right, are you a bone in or a boneless wing guy?
Oh, yeah, you'd have a bone in it. But I like the flat ones, not the drumsticks.
Okay.
Too much
Good.
muscles and tendons going on there,
Well, side question then, favorite
Okay.
sauce?
I'm not very manly, so it's not hot stuff. I'm, a medium or a barbecue, pretty soft that way. I like that you
That's
guys
fair.
talk about food too. I talk about food a lot in my shit.
Hey, Waldo still has the best mixed grilled wings in Kalamazoo.
So Waldo's is still kicking.
Waldo's is still kicking. I'm there checking
God,
IDs
that's
every
awesome.
Thursday night.
Thursday night still pitcher night?
It sure is.
God, that's great to hear. You see the world change, and it's nice to hear when the great things are still going.
Well,
Right?
the only problem is now Wes is stealing IDs from players while he's bartending or while checking IDs.
What do you mean? He's not letting hockey players into the
Oh,
bar?
we let hockey players in the bar.
Yeah, you better. You work at Waldo's?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's awesome. That's so awesome. So you've been out of school for a while, but you still get to live it a bit, that, eh? If you're going to Waldo's to work,
Oh yeah.
you're still seeing what's out
Oh,
there.
I'm still seeing the mess that's made every Thursday night.
Yeah,
that place is disgusting by the end of the night, isn't it?
Oh, that place is disgusting when it first opens. All right.
Yeah, so awesome. You just muck it up in that bar.
he just may or may not have
There's not enough bleach to
taken
clean that floor.
we had Luke Granger on, and he may or may not have taken one of his IDs.
Well, I made it through. Let's see. I went to Western Michigan when I was 18. I was Derek Martin for at least a few years, a friend from home with my Ontario license. Yeah.
I will say it's hard to get your buddies in the bar if the door guy knows every player on the hockey team, though.
Right. And
So
it's wild that the U.S. is still 21 years old, man. Like,
yeah,
I know.
I mean, they're getting stricter too. I mean, they just made tobacco products 21 and up down here not too long ago, and then legalized marijuana in certain states.
it's
at
amazing
21
when you
and up.
travel the
So,
world playing hockey because you see how everybody does things different, right? And then you
Oh,
get
yeah.
to Great Britain and like fellas can drink pints, a bit younger.
Yeah, my buddies, they would go. They're from International Falls, which is just a little bit, couple hours west of Thunder Bay, and they would go right across the border, and they would just go get hammered, and then the border patrol would be like, "What you guys doing?" They're like,
Well, I had a tough time with it because I was in Canada and 19 was legal age, and I went home for a summer after like my freshman or sophomore year, and I could have beers, and it's not a problem. I'm of age. And then I went back to Western, and I think I was in the dorms one night, and they saw me drinking, and I got written up, and it was like a whole deal. I had to tell
Yep.
the coach, and I had to like go do this course because I'd had a beer in the dorm. I'm like, I'm legal age in Canada, like leave me alone.
Oh yeah.
Brutal.
All right. Now,
Are we off
Wes,
topic again?
Wes,
It's fine.
this is gonna happen a lot. I can already tell.
Oh, I'm glad with it. I told you I've been
I should
studying
have
up
hit
on the pod.
record too, and I should have sent this episode too.
uh, athlete that you idolized most growing up. Your favorite athlete growing up. Who was it?
Well, I wore number. Well, it depends. I mean, I love Pavel Bure in the NHL. And then there's others, but mainly they were the small guys that made it. Because back when I was growing up, I was always told you couldn't make it at my size. Like you literally couldn't make it. And I did have people say growing up that like, well, you're not gonna be able to make it at your size, so you should look into Europe or this or that. And sometimes when people keep saying that to you your whole life, you start to believe that, right? And that actually probably was what happened when I went pro. Is I didn't deep down believe in myself enough, and when I got out there with the big boys, I didn't believe I should be out there. Um, where you do need to believe in yourself when you get into those situations, you know.
I think hockey. I definitely believe is a little bit different in that sense because I mean, you look. I'm a Wild fan. You look at our captain Jared Spurgeon.
Yeah.
He's not a big dude,
Well, the
and
game's changed a lot
it
too
it
that way.
it has. But I learned how to skate, but then I ended up playing basketball because, well, when I had to make the choice, we won 3 games a year in hockey and we only lost about 3 games a year in basketball. Difference between hockey and basketball, you know that you don't really stand a chance when you're 5'8", 5'9", and the opposing team's point guard is 6'2". You look at him and you're like,
Oh
this isn't gonna
yeah,
get, this
yeah,
isn't gonna go so well.
yeah.
Uh,
It's different now. There's way more small guys succeeding in hockey. And when I got to the HL after Western Michigan, they put me on the fourth line with the fighters, and like these guys were literal monsters. Like they were gigantic, and those were my line mates. And I was a scoring college player, and then when I got there, I played fourth line with the fighters, and they it was intimidating.
just kick him in the shin, you're fine.
I got a random question since I'm usually the host when I'm chatting. Is I see your logo behind you there, painted Bronco, and that's not. I got the same one on my chest. That's not the one they're working with anymore, eh? That's what I hear.
Yeah, yours is the older version. This is the new version.
Is that the new one? I thought it was just a W now.
So there was some pullback on the old Circle W, which was a great decision. That one was slightly
So they did pull it back.
little bit, yeah. They're running with more the. They wanted to get away from the Vegas gold, and they this has been a debacle since day one with this whole thing. Because our colors are brown and gold, great colors when used properly. For whatever reason, everything since I've been here has been black and white or brown and Vegas gold, which brown and Vegas gold is not a bad combination either. So they wanted to get back to the more traditional brown and gold, the university gold, which is where this bad boy comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And yet still everything is gray and white or brown and white as the current uniforms are. Um, the current uniforms kind of look like giant Tootsie Roll wrappers for the,
Okay.
at least the away ones do. But yeah, there's been some mighty fine pushback on the changes, and
Well,
my biggest.
they first made that change. I know a guy that like he literally bought all the old logo, like everything you could, and was
Yep.
like starting a store selling
Yep.
that stuff.
Oh yeah. Uh, honestly, like legitimate to me, I don't mind the brown and the university gold. I really don't. Um, the thing that irritated me the most was they put the Circle W and then they put Western Michigan at center ice, and it looked awful.
It
And
looked horrible.
it looked so bad. And part of the reason they were like, well, we have Western Michigan there, so everyone knows where it's at. Cool. You know what else they knew was Western Michigan? A Bronco with a W behind it. Stop adding stuff. If you have to put words next to your logo is bad. There's your first indication that you have picked a bad logo.
It looked like the Washington Commanders logo.
Oh, it was awful. So
I
really,
mean, a little bit
Sorry,
better with the
I
choice.
feel like I opened up a sore
no,
subject. My
no.
bad.
Again, like this is
I
it has
just heard
been.
all the pushback
Oh
too, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
you get away from it, and
And then
I like the old logo. I like the old jerseys. I liked
yeah, I
Western
mean,
Michigan, man. What a spot that
got an
is.
old CCHA, the final year of the CCHA jersey on right now.
Oh yeah, that's that's newer than me.
Yeah. And then the other big change is they made the Bronco face right instead of left, and that caused a bunch of commotion. Um, again, to me personally, I didn't care which way the thing faced. I take logos like I take tattoos. They should always face forward. I don't care if it faces left, if it faces right, if it faces north, south, wherever. As long as it's facing forward.
Mm.
And to me, I think they should have had like it interchangeable so you could put it on either side, much like this jersey has one over here
Oh,
and one over
you
here.
even got my new number on there, 18. That's what I ended up being after. Yeah. I
Yeah.
consider myself a number 18, not a number 10. Good
Uh,
number.
we had another number 10 on the podcast not too long ago in current assistant coach JJ Crew, who played a few years after you.
Yeah, I know the name.
But so we'll jump
So
back in.
are your episodes all over the place? I was doing some looking. Is it mainly just YouTube then?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
smart enough to know where else to put this thing. So we just live stream straight to YouTube.
Okay, because I'm not very good at it either. All I did was Google how do you do a podcast, and then now I just send them. I just talk to people and just send them.
Yeah.
And I just let Wes take care of all that because we were going to talk about NCHC and this anyway. Like we figured it out, and I'm like, well, you take care of this. I'll just kind of hop on and talk my way through it
for you. Yeah.
So if you could have had a personalized goal song, what would it have been?
Personalized goal song.
Yeah, so much like baseball players, they have their walk-up music.
Yeah.
If anytime you had scored a goal and you could have picked the song that played, what would the song have been?
I would say it's nowadays it'd be Brothers Osborne. I'm not for everyone, or might as well be me. I'm not for everyone is the song I play at the start and end of my episodes. The way it started was during my pro career, or even say college, when you think you've given it all you've got, and you think people are on your side, and then they don't want you back, or they don't say good things to about you. I took that very personal. It really hurt because I thought I gave everything I had everywhere I went, and I was a good teammate. And I had a hard time out of the game with it all. And then when that song came out was when I was thought of starting the podcast, and I thought, well, you know what? I'm not for everyone, but my teammates know who I am, and I guess that's how you can do as many episodes as you have time for, is because I know my friends will be there when I ask them to come chat, and the might as well be me is kind of the same thing. Is my after college, right? There's a lot of my teammates and my Bronco fellas and the fans that thought I was going places. And then when you don't accomplish a lot of things and you don't play in the leagues people wanted you to and yourself, I was me. I mean, didn't have a six pack. I'm not 6'4". I don't look like a hockey player, but I'm me and I make hockey fun and I'm a good teammate, and that song hits home too. So it'd be one of those two.
Brothers Osborne is a great choice. I've they opened for Eric Church years ago, and I have a beach ball, and uh Brothers Osborne, they're just fantastic.
Well, and you can just tell they're like down to earth dudes that like get it. Like I'm not for everyone, might as well be me. And then there's another one, nobody's nobody, and it's like, well, that is exactly the case. Is nobody's nobody. It's like I thought I was a nobody when I went to the AHL, and like you see all these other people do great, and it's like, well, why can't we do this, right? Like, why can't you guys do this? Why can't I do this? It's like nobody's nobody, and then I'll have on anybody. I'll have on anybody I hear is a good dude in the game of hockey, but they got to be referred that they're a good dude, you know?
Yeah. And it's go ahead, Wes.
I'll say from having listened to your pod and the little bit that we've talked now, you should reach out to Trevor Gorsuch.
Yes,
He is a
100%.
he is a shed guy for sure. He's a former
Yeah.
Western Michigan Bronco goaltender. He's currently playing with the Wichita Thunder in the ECHL. That dude, we've had him on a couple of times. You should check out some of our previous pods to get a feel for him. But he is an absolute legend, both in Kalamazoo and amongst Mike and I for some of the stuff that we've ended up having to put him through. Um, we once recorded an entire 2-hour pod, realized we didn't have the audio, and turned it around and did it again the next
Yeah,
day.
your fault. Yeah.
Dude, I messed up big time with the Bronco too. I had we had I think more than 2 ales and hockey tales that night, but it was me and Matt Federico who became an NHL agent out of Western Michigan, right? And we had a great chat. We laid it all out there, left our left our heart on the table, and then it said my computer was full of fun and talks that I couldn't download it. And then somehow I messed it up. Maybe we'd had too many ales, and I just straight up deleted it.
Oh
And
no!
yeah, and I wrote back. I'm like, dude, I think we're screwed here. And he's like, there's no way. I'm like, just hop back on. We'll talk for a little bit so we can send something. And you know what? Like a good Bronco, he didn't make excuses. He didn't complain. We jumped right back on when we were like 6, 7 beers deep and got right back at it. But we only got like 30 minutes in, and we were both like, okay, we're cooked. We don't even know what we talked about.
Trevor is fantastic, and I think probably that first story that he told maybe probably was good that it didn't air, but he's been fantastic. And we just hop on, we'll send him a message on Twitter. We have a little group and we're like, hey, what do you think about this or whatever. He is a riot. He will get us crying, laughing with all the stories that he has. And he's exactly like you, personality wise. You guys will go for like 5 fucking hours.
Well, that sounds fun. Yeah, that's what I like to hear. It's interesting for me because I started this, and I remember when I thought of it, I wrote down a list of people I would want to have on, and it was at like 80 guys, and but then it's amazing that the shed guys, no shed guys, this is what I call guys that come to my shed on my podcast, shed guys, which are the type of people I'm into, the good people, the people that have time for kids at the arena, sign whatever. Just like this last weekend, I get messages from 3 other shed guys. One's, you need to have this guy on. He's the biggest beaut. And then I have a fan rate saying, this player in Manchester comes up and says hi to me at the glass every warm up. He gives me a puck. He does this, and he's definitely a shed guy. And then it's like, wow, I've like made this like community of what I want hockey to be, and like whether I'm helping influence hockey players do more, I think it's pretty neat, right? But then when people know who's making an impact on the people in the arena, right? And it's just by having fun.
Oh yeah.
What was the thing that Trevor did between two sticks or something? It was kind of like this a spoof of the Zach Galifianakis thing. I think
Between
he
two
only
ferns.
there, yeah, between two ferns, but there's only one, and we talked to him about it, and he was like, "Yeah, 100%. That was just off the cuff. Just it was hilarious." All right, so I have one more because of our random questions. Most bingeable TV show for you?
Yellowstone.
I have yet to watch Yellowstone.
You know, you are the. I think Kirsten kind of said that too. Um, one of our other guests, she does a lot of reporting for NAHL, and then she's an in arena host for the Wild. Uh, but she is obsessed with Yellowstone. So that I watched about
I wouldn't
6
say
episodes.
I honestly hardly watch TV. I don't have time. If I have a pocket, if I have an hour and a half, I try and book a chat in my shed. I'm about as flat out busy as I can be. So I don't really watch TV. I don't really watch hockey. I just kind of do what I got to do. I'm coaching an under 13 boys team. That's busy. My daughter's in rep hockey as well as competitive gymnastics. Then I got the real job, and then I try to pod when I can.
Yep, that's about where we're at. I've been watching a lot of Bluey. I got a 10-month-old that I'm trying to distract every once in a while so I can get dinner cooked when I get home and throw Bluey on the TV for her and end up watching probably more of it than she does. But
So why are you called the painted Bronco? Do you paint yourself and go to
I
games?
paint my face almost every home game or every Western game that I've been to. Yes, yes, sir.
He looks like fucking Sting,
Well,
but just
so
in
so there was
Broncos
a
colors.
guy that lived in the Burnhams in the dorms with us back. I guess it's before you. And while he was painting himself, and well, he was quite an overweight fella, and it was funny, right? He'd go to the games topless, painted, and then he got skinny, and it just wasn't as funny, you know.
Yeah, no. I started painting my face in '09. So I went to like 2 years.
So you paint it yourself? You don't have a
Yep.
guy that helps you?
Nope. That's all me. It
So
takes
do
me
you
about.
guys want your? I don't know how many pods you've listened to. You probably only listen to Broncos. So do you want to hear your fun story of like what I used to do in hockey?
Yes, sir. I do.
Um,
Absolutely.
okay. So, um, I ended it with Cardiff Wales, the Cardiff Devils, and they just named me one of the captains, and it was the first time in my pro career I was named one of the captains. I was pretty excited about it all, and then I blew up my knee again, and then it was over. The doctors wouldn't clear me, and I was literally lost. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know how to help the team. House was rented out back home in Canada. So, anyways, we're staying for the year, and I have a meeting with the GM. I'm like, I don't know what to do or where to go, or like my career's over, but like I signed up to help the Cardiff Devils win this year, and that's what I want to do, and I don't want to go home. And I didn't know how to help, so I became the power play coach, but I also did the pregame speeches. So I had gone through a bit of a tough go there. And then the equipment manager and the coach were trying to do these funny pregame speeches because the coach was too intense and he knew the boys needed a laugh before we went out. So I said, why don't you stay out of that? And like me and Diesel take care of it, the equipment manager. And well, the coach would come in, do his all rant speech. And then all of a sudden, well, the way it started was I hid in the storage closet where nobody ever opened the door in this little locker room. And I came out dressed as Thor, naked. Um, I only had a blonde wig on and the mask, which was my 3-year-old's Halloween masks. He had a whole box of them. And I came out with the hammer who one of my teammates had given my 3-year-old for his birthday. And it was a Thor hammer that could lightning and thunder. And I came out and I hit the button to make it lightning. And then I said what I had to say and I was Thor. Um, and then I got in a guy's face and I said, um, something about they're going to take the whole hammer and they're going to like it. And let's go out there and give them our hammer. And then they went out and sure enough did that. And then, so then it became a thing. There was a time I was naked as a Ninja Turtle. I was Iron Man. I was spray painted green as the Hulk. So the boys would go out for warm ups. I'd be the power play coach, talk to them about the power plays and what to do. And then when they go for warm ups, I'd get in the shower. The equipment manager would spray my whole canvas, and I would be literally completely spray painted green as the Hulk, and I'd have the mask on. And then I had to keep it fresh, and I couldn't just come out of the same closet. So, like, every time it was like different logistics of how to surprise the guys, and every time I had to get bigger and better. It got weird. That's all I can say. But after I did all that season, I was just trying to have fun and keep it light and do the hockey thing. And they brought me back for a Wally night 4 years later, and they flew me back to Cardiff, Wales, when I've been out of the game for that long. And it wasn't because I was good at playing hockey. It's because I looked fantastic, spray painted, naked, and could do great pregame speeches.
Hey, every locker room needs a glue guy, right?
Well, you got to keep it light, right? And I started out 9-0 as a pregame speaker because, like, how are they going to look at me after that game where it's like, if you didn't go out and give it 110 and you just saw what I just did, like the Captain America, we would put tape on my chest of where the star was going to be, and then they'd rip the tape off. So then once they spray painted me, I'd have the star on my chest. Um, there was a lot of strange ones. But started out 9-0, and the first game I did lose as a pregame speaker. Well, I let my son get involved. He's 3 years old. He wore his Hulk costume. I was Iron Man, and he did a pregame speech for a professional hockey team. They thought it was going to be me coming out of the closet. It was actually my 3-year-old. He gave a big roar. They got a bit nervous, but then he went around, high-fived the whole team, and then they went out and lost. What a bunch of punks.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's how my career ended, guys. If you were wondering, not everybody gets to ride off into the sunset like you think. You actually spray paint yourself naked and just try and help the guys win.
I mean, it
You
depends on what your
know-
sunset looks like, right?
Right, and
Is
that I
that
guess
so-
that was my sunset. Or
That is a hell of a way to go out.
that's something, eh? So
You know,
the
honestly,
wild
I would
part
probably
of this
go with
story,
that.
though, the wild part of the story is then they invite me back for this Wally night, and I was like, "There's only 8 guys left on the team I played with," and they never committed like whether or not I was going to do this pregame speech or if I'm going to do it. And it's like the day of the game. And then they're like, "Of course you're doing it. Like, you came all the way here." And I was like, "Okay, game on." So then I spray painted a devil on my chest. I got the mascot's head on, which was a big devil head or a whatever. And then I put like Ultimate Warrior tassels with red tape on my arms and legs. And then my buddy, who his first year on the Devils, had since become like their all-time leading scorer, their GOAT as they call it, and I put his number 88 and the GOAT on my back. And then I came in naked with just the Devil's head on, ran across the room, came back, ripped the head off, and then I got in that same guy's face that I had said about the hammer. And I said, "Do you remember when hockey was fun? Do you remember when hockey is fun?" I was like, "Let's go out and have some fun." Because when I'd gotten over there, all I could hear about was how stressed out all these hockey players were and how hockey wasn't as fun anymore. And I was like, well, I know how to win hockey games, and it's by having more fun than the other team. So then all these guys that didn't know me, then they knew me real good, real quick. They got to see my tallywhacker right away.
So I know it has grown in England, and you've had the career, and actually fortunately slash unfortunately I knew Adam Johnson, who just passed away. But
Yeah.
what is it, because I was listening to your episode with Alex, oh shoot,
Old
let me
AL.
Pulasic,
Oh,
the
oh,
Polish guy,
yeah, the German. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Polish German guy,
Yeah, yeah.
who's now the referee. That was entertaining, especially the chirps part where he's like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, he's in the DEL, and he's like, who the fuck are you, like,
Yeah.
chirping me? But
Well, I didn't know how famous that dude was, man. Like he's like Gordon Ramsay too. He's on the coolest thing ever. I didn't know about it as he told me about it. There's a cooking show in Germany, and it's
yeah,
hockey team versus hockey team in the DL, and they go out there and compete, and it's 2-on-2, and they do it just like any other cooking show, but it's hockey guys. And they got him, who's a real ref, to ref the cooking show. That's hockey.
yeah, like
That's awesome.
that's great. But my
I
question
kick
is
the
just
shit out of
like,
all of them, though. Just let me compete. What a mess.
hey, we'll come judge. We will come up
Yeah, I'll do the
to your
cooking.
place, and you can cook, and we'll judge it. But just I knew it was uh kind of like early 2010s. I knew it was a league, but I was kind of looking at highlights, and not quite a thing in England. But just what is the atmosphere like? I know Germany has a really great league. I think Denmark
I
has a
can
really
get.
great league.
I think I know what you're getting at. So I played in all those leagues.
Mhm.
Real suitcase.
Yeah, and it's just like comparingly
So
to
I'll
us.
compare it as the second league in Germany. I don't know about the wages nowadays, but back in my day, as I could make more money in the second league in Germany. I had a higher ceiling. You could go to the DL and even make quite a bit more money than what I ever did. Um, but you can be friends with the fans, but there's a language barrier. Um, they're very high and low when it comes to wins and losses. They're not. Um, they can take it quite personally when you lose, and if you're not playing good, I've seen them be real mean to players. But like when I first started in Germany and I was running amok and doing my thing, the way people treated me, it was like I was like a king. And then when the team starts losing, and then all of a sudden it's not like that, and you see what it's really like, it's like, well, what are your true colors? Like, do you like me or not? Because I'm playing hockey the same way, and I'm playing just as hard. But then I went to Cardiff, Wales, and the UK League. It's not just, I got to correct you because I've been over there. There's Wales, there's Scotland, there's England.
Hmm.
It's the UK League. And then there's also Northern Ireland, which is Belfast. But like, it was as hockey got, man. It was a family in the arena. Germany arenas were louder. They were more raucous and more drums, more flags, more like flares going off. It was pretty crazy, actually. But when I got to the UK, it was a family. There's more kids in the arena. Everybody spoke English. Um, one of the things when I got to Cardiff that I loved so much was the GM made us drink beers with the fans. I was like, oh, really? He said a big part of hockey is getting, he called them touch points with fans, where you interact with them and you talk with them. And one of the things was, he goes, if you lose 7-0, you're going out there to that bar and facing your fans and talking with them and having a conversation and a beer. And if you win 7-0, you're doing the same thing. And I thought it was great. You'd have to go and have a chat and explain yourselves, whatever, but you were a family, you were a team, and it wasn't just the team, it was a hockey family. And like, I knew everybody in the arena. I knew the bartenders, I knew everybody, and it makes you more invested in the community, the town, when you know more people and you're on the same team all the time, you know?
I think that's a really good idea because especially here with the NHL,
It
y-
doesn't
y-
for the kids. It doesn't even
y-
feel like it's like possible. You don't get to interact with them. You don't get to know them. You just
yeah,
watch them play hockey, and you walk out the arena, and like there's no interaction. And I understand that there's leagues get too big that you can't do it, but I think it's as important as anything.
and it is different where you know United States and Canada are so big versus what the UK is. It's more localized, but um, like you get these players, and all of a sudden I go out in Minneapolis or St. Paul, and I see Kaprizov, I see Zuccarello, I see Brodeen, any of these wild players, and for me, I'm kind of like, okay, they play hockey because um, Matt Niskanen, who played for I don't know 9 years or 10 years in the NHL, he was from my rival school. I'd see him on Easter in the bar. We'd go like out to the restaurant and be like, "Oh yeah, there's Niski and whatever. Who cares?" But people get so infatuated with these players because they're a professional athlete, where they don't seem like they're part of that community. It's like they're um
Above,
idolized and pedestalized compared
but
to us.
it's a real thing. Like, I never played in the NHL, but like, and I'm not saying this about all NHL players, but like, you hear about the guys that get their private rooms and have their bottle services and have this and have that, and it's like, why? Like, I would just be mucking it up with everybody else. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
care how much money I'm making.
All right, we got a
and
couple of chat questions here for you. Uh,
oh boy,
is
What's
it
this now? So you put something out and people wrote that there's questions for me?
so they're in the live in the chat on the stream. So if you have
Really?
here we
if you
go.
have the YouTube channel up, yeah, you'd see it. Parker Bryce asks, "Is it weird playing on an Olympic-sized ice?"
Oh, I don't like it. Um,
Because I think, pre-
honestly, I don't like Olympic ice. I think games are more boring. I think there's not enough bumping and grinding, not enough mucking it up. I don't find it weird. I just find that you have so much time with the puck, and a lot about skating and thinking the game, but like I'd rather get, and it's probably where I grew up on a small arena, was I liked getting in there and getting in the corners and doing it. And I also like being able to try and like a guy come at me, I'd like to hit him first and then try and take it to the net. You get on those big ice, man, you can beat a guy and then you still have so far to go to get to the net. It's way too far.
Yeah, I think pretty soon here, St. Cloud's going to have the only Olympic-sized ice left in college hockey.
Is that true?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure because I think another one just was it.
Colorado College, man, back in the day, I won't forget that trip. We went there and it was altitude and Olympic ice. And I was like, this is a mess.
Yeah, no, they're on regular-sized ice. They just opened their arena on campus 2,
mhm.
3 years ago, not too long
I
ago.
thought it was last year.
No, I think this is their
It
third
can be hard.
year.
It can be hard to breathe.
Whatever Mayot's year is, it's I think he was the coach the first year out there, and I think this is his third year. So I think it's their third year
So two
at
years ago then.
Ed Robinson Arena.
And then University of Minnesota just shrunk their ice.
Yeah.
I think it's
coming
great.
into this
I
year.
honestly, I don't see the reason for it. It's like when you watch the games and like the Olympics or everyone's on big ice. It's like it's a totally different game. There's not as much happening. There's not as much action, and it is more boring.
And then
So is that something that you had? Oh, go ahead, Wes.
and
I'll
then
ask
his
my
other question is: was hockey less physical over in Europe, or is it more physical versus
Uh,
here? Or-
well, that's a difficult question, I'd say. My year in the coast in the AHL was very physical. That was obviously a long time ago when hockey was physical. I think it's changed more in North America than anywhere else, where it's less physical over here than it used to be. We used to be the physical people, but my body couldn't handle it. It was after 1 year out of Western Michigan. The next season, I played 102 hockey games, going to the finals of the coast and then the AHL and preseason. And I played till the end of June, and then you only have like 2 months until the next season starting. And like my body was broken. I'd gone to the finals of the coast, and like you're not even making any money, but then you have no time to work out. You have no time to get better for the next season because your body's broken halfway through the season or the summer. But like when I got to Germany, it wasn't less physical. We were on big ice where, but like Germans play hockey hard. They play hockey right. There's probably too much trapping with some coaches, but like they, I like them because they'd bring in imports and they'd be like, oh no, he's a prima donna. And like, they wanted guys that would muck it up. They liked guys that would compete and hit and get in corners and block shots. And if you wouldn't do it, like they didn't have time for you. I thought the Danish league when I went there was the softest league I played in, and I'm not trying to be a dick, but there wasn't much competing out there. Like they didn't hit much. There what like it was my body felt the best after that season. I went to the finals and we won it, and I was banged up, but not like I could be other years. And then the UK was old school hockey, man. When I played, it was as hockey gets. I don't think it's exactly the same now. I think it's evolved. When I was there, our team had 6 or 7 guys that could throw them and were willing to any night. But we also had skilled players. We also had high end talent. Um, it was, and then there was like 3 or 4 teams like that. But like when you were getting ready to play one of those games, it was like this is so go time. Like these guys are coming out to get us, and we're coming to get them. And I had big boys to protect me, and they did. And I thought that was exactly how hockey should be, was the UK league in 2014-15. And then once our team bullied teams around a bit that year, then every team brought in the old enforcer from the NHL that wasn't getting jobs. And then all of a sudden there's these big, huge, scary dudes that it's like, well, every team's got one of those instead of like the 7 or 8 all tough guys that aren't like that, right?
So, what was the last year that you played hockey professionally?
2015-16 when I spray painted myself naked.
Okay, so I'm just trying to look. 15, 16. One of the guys that he was a couple years older than me, but he played for the Fife Flyers out of Scotland.
Yeah.
His name was Nico Sacchetti.
Nico Sacchetti. In 2000,
Yeah.
see, 2015-16, I hardly played though, right?
Well, and he did play 13, 14 for the Dundee Stars.
And I wasn't there then.
So,
So I was in
but,
Cardiff. 14,
yeah.
15 was the year I actually played the year and had a good year. And then the next year I was hurt by, I think it was preseason when I first heard it, and then I battled through it for a bit, and then it just went on me. I actually remember the day my career ended was my parents were flying over from Canada. I was driving to the train station on the wrong side of the road in a standard car, and my leg locked like a pirate. Like I couldn't bend my knee, like it was stuck, and I had to try and do the clutch and the gas, and I had one leg that wasn't working, and holy baloney was I scared and in pain because I had to like pop it through at one point to get to the pedal, and oh my god, did it hurt. But anywho, yeah, that was the day it ended, and so I didn't play much then. I don't know that name though, so no, I'm not sure.
Oh, that's fair enough. I just knew he played, and I was like, I'm trying to look at
Yeah.
the years
Well,
and
that's how it all
figure it
works,
out.
right? It's the small hockey world, is everybody's connected and it's not far off.
That's
So
okay. He played for University of Minnesota, but I remember in high school he came down on a breakaway because rival school, everybody's there. High school, we're all there. Minnesota hockey, and I knew the goalie. It's on a breakaway. Goalie just stones him cold, like stuns him to everything. Goalie's comment was, "Well, how are you going to score on the D1 goalies if you can't even score on me?" It was like, oh
Yeah.
shit. He was a fourth liner for the Gophers, but that was, I mean, they were a high point, and then they dropped down, and now they're back on a high point with they have Motzko from St. Cloud State.
I played with his son, Joe. Joe Motzko was in Syracuse when I left Western Michigan.
Really?
hmm He was a player.
so
Right
you
winger. Guess that's why I couldn't get any ice time. Yeah. Small world. That's actually when I got called up from the coast one time, and he was the guy that was hurt. And then I get called up and they say, here's your chance on the top two lines. And then come the end of warm up, his shoulder's not hurt anymore. And then sure as shit, I'm back on the fourth line.
you kind of played in some lean years for Western Michigan, and I've been lucky enough to kind of be spoiled with what they've done here recently.
hmm
Have you followed along with the current team, or like at least what they're doing?
Um, I mean, like the current team nowadays, like this season, honestly, that's like a bit of a story, I guess. I mean, when I was at Western Michigan, I loved the school, my teammates, and everything as much as you possibly could. I thought I played hockey as hard as you possibly could. I loved everything about it. I would do anything. Um, and then when you go to pro, and then um, I guess like you hear from your agent that like your coach doesn't say didn't like didn't like say the best things or root for you or say yes he's this or that and then um losing was really hard. I hate losing. I'm as competitive as they get, and when I got recruited to Western Michigan they were good and I was going to a good school, and we progressively got worse every season, and then by the end of my college career, going to the arena, instead of it being the funnest place in the world and the most fun I was ever having, like playing in front of the Lawson Lunatics, all we wanted to do was play the games because the practices, the workouts were, and nobody was having fun. Nobody wanted to be there. Nobody wanted to be at the rink. We were a team away from the rink way more than we were at the rink. And that was the culture was we're going to go to the rink and deal with it all and get through it. And then we can get out of there and be friends and have fun elsewhere, because it's not fun going there. And I think that's what I guess losing does, but it just kind of spiraled where my last year was tough. And I mean, we went from recruiting skilled college guys like Jeff Campbell and Pat Dwyer and Vince Bellissimo, and then there was a year where we were recruiting tougher guys, and I'm like, well, why are we recruiting tough guys when you can't fight in college? It's like, and I mean, I love every teammate I ever had, but like come the end there, it was so dysfunctional in at the rink, and we didn't have good enough players. We weren't as good as other teams, and it was really hard on me. I hate losing, and I hated seeing my teammates and friends having a hard time with hockey, and everybody cared so much. And then when their individual careers or playing isn't going well, and you're living with them or they're your friends and you care, it was really hard because like one of my teammates threw out all his equipment after the last game of the season, threw it in the garbage. And it's like, that's not what I want to see. That's not what, and I'm like trying to make the NHL, and I got NHL teams talking to me, and I got that going on in the same apartment as me. And it's like, it's a lot to take in. But to see where it's come, I couldn't be prouder. Not that I had anything to do with it, but like you talked to Jeff Lavecchio in that class that came in when I was a senior, and our class was trying to raise them right and teach them how to do it. It's like the guys I came up with and my teammates and the guys I'm talking about, they love the Broncos more than anybody, and they would do anything to win. Um, but not everybody can play, and people take it differently, and coaching's different now, and everything's different now. But to see where the Western Michigan Broncos are now, it makes me so proud, to see them turn it around. Um, I mean, I don't like saying negative things about people, but um, yeah, I think it wasn't going the right direction when I was there. And when you're the guy and when you're the leading scorer and whatever, winning the MVP, and it's like that's your team, uh, I was embarrassed. I was pissed off. All I wanted was the Western Michigan Broncos to win, and like I would try so fucking hard, and then it'd be another Saturday night where they're telling us we can't go out and we can't go have fun. And I'm like, we get to do this one more year. We get to do this one more time, and we can't win a fucking game so we can go have fun as a team. And we couldn't. We finished
Yeah.
11th that season, and it was tough. And anyways, then to see where they've come, I always said Western Michigan has everything you need to be a powerhouse. When I got to that school and saw what it was about, especially from small town Ontario, and like you got kind of the country feel, but also the city, and it doesn't feel too big. You got the Lost and Lunatics, man. There is nothing like it.
So is
They definitely go ahead, Wes.
so Parker asked a question that kind of plays into what you're
I guess
speaking about here.
I went on a rant there and I didn't answer your question. I didn't follow it for very long afterwards because you're a bit sour,
Right.
and you go or doing your own thing, and you're worrying about the leagues you're playing, and you're worried about what you're doing, and you're watching the players you're playing against and how they're doing. I Once you move on in hockey, you kind of don't look back. You kind of keep going. And it was in a summer one year. I married a Bronco, a MAC champion soccer player, and I was at the in-laws, and I saw the Broncos playing in like the NCAA tournament on TV, and I was like, "Oh my God, did I want to do that?" And I was happy for them, but also very jealous.
Yeah, they've hit a new level here recently. It's like I said, it's been fun to watch. I came in right at '07, so really in kind of the middle of that not so great period of Bronco hockey, and didn't even know Western had a D1 hockey team when I got here. Um,
That's wild. And now look at you.
yeah, now look at me. And it was literally those guys that you mentioned. You know, it was like Lavecchio. Chris Frank was like my favorite player my first few years at Western because I think I saw his last 2 seasons.
Oh yeah,
Um,
the tank.
and then like it just got better and better from there on. You know, the different players came in. Uh, they had Jeff Blashill for a year. Andy Murray came in, and Jeff built that team that ended up winning the CCHA the year after he left, and we had Andy Murray for the year
But
behind the
I don't
bench.
think he built that team. Like those weren't his recruits. He came in and coached them.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
exactly. I mean,
and like I said, I don't. The coach when I was there did a lot for me. He played me in every position. He gave me every chance to succeed. It was my team, and he put me in all those positions. But now that I coach, I there's a lot of different ways of doing things. But like when I got to pro and I started doing man on man defense, um, the coach blew the whistle and was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I don't stay with him all the time." And he's like, "No, you're in pro now." And I mean, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready structurally as a hockey player to learn how to play the right way. And to be honest, people said a lot of things about our goaltending when I was there, but to me as a coach and how I coach defense, and when I went to the East Coast to the Dayton Bombers, and I had the best defensive coach I ever played for, and he changed my career. Um, you goalies can be good when there's a structure in front of them and they know how to defend right, and you're staying in the way of them. You're not going into corners trying to kill people. You're stick on puck. You're staying in between them and the net. You're not making it easy, and you're not going chasing and trying to kill people and make the huge hit. Um, and I think I mean nobody can do it again, but I like coaching. I like I like it.
I think
It was hard
I think
through those years.
Jeff was kind of just a vibe change that I think the university needed at the time that he came in.
But like
Um,
he can coach, man. He was with
oh
the
yeah,
Red Wings in just a couple of years. Like he knows how to bring a team together. He knows how to get everything out of everybody. Like that was what I found was there was the guys that were playing that were right into it and bought right in. And then there were the guys that didn't feel important, that didn't feel wanted, that didn't feel like their job mattered. And I think as a coach to win, you need every guy playing hockey the best they can. And the guys that aren't in the lineup are still in it and trying to help the other guys, and they're trying to get better to be in the lineup, but they're all a part of it and feel important. So there. And
Um,
I think that Blashill did that from what I've heard in my shed from people.
yeah,
And
and
I think Pat Ferschweiler knows how to do that too.
I was gonna say I think Pat's doing it in his own way and at his own level because what the stuff that he's been able to get out of guys the last 3 years is absolutely ridiculous. You know, Ethan Frank stays. They've had two big groups like stay extra years in play. A lot of guys who were expected to leave their junior year, they stayed for a senior year. That being the class that Wade Allison played in, Hugh McGing, like those guys. And then the next year, it's Ethan Frank, Drew Warad, and they put up ungodly numbers. Uh, they both leave. Last year we had Jason Poland, Ryan McAllister, who was a true freshman coming in, Max Aston, who was a sophomore, and they light up the entire college world and score 138 points between the three of them. And
So, and I think that's the coach getting it out of them. Um, but that's also, I find it interesting when you say, well, they stayed for another year and they could have left. It's like, from what I see at Western Michigan and what's going on now, is they're trying to promote their players. They're trying to get them to the next level. They're trying to get them places, and they don't care whether they're a sophomore, junior, freshman. If they deserve it and they're getting opportunities, they can use that to bring in the next people. They can use that to bring in better talent and say, look at what we did with this guy. Where, if I'm being honest, which I try to do in my shed, my junior year, I had a really good year. And my head coach instructed me not to get an agent, said I didn't need it and I shouldn't be putting that on my shoulders. And then come the end of the year when I was like, what am I doing and why have I not chosen one? And I did go with the guy that I always should have gone with. He says, well, nobody's been coming out. Nobody's been making calls. Nobody's been out there working for you to get people in arenas to watch you play on this huge year. And now it's kind of late, and now there's a lockout looming. And it was like, if I don't know. And that's why, like, it's tough, right? Because then you leave a school that meant the world to you, and then like you lose your final series in dramatic fashion to Miami after you upset the first round, and um, and then like you've given everything you can to a school, and then I mean that summer, my agent calls me and says, "Hey, like so." They said this and that. I was like, okay. And then it's tough. It's been tough. I have, yeah, it's been tough. But it was tough
I
for a bit because I get a bit loyal to people a bit too much.
and I think we even see it with Sam Coangelo, who now is on the Broncos. Like you were saying with Western promoting their players, um, he transferred out of Northeastern, which Devin Levi, the goalie, he's now I can't remember who he's with, but they
Buffalo
just had him
Sabres.
on Buffalo, and they just had him on Spit and Chicklets. I saw that tweet today. Um, but we actually went down, and I can prove that Wes does paint his own face because the only time him and I have ever met was about a year ago. I flew out to Grand Rapids, Michigan.
How did you guys start talking in
We were
here then if you guys hadn't even met?
we were on a Facebook page that made memes for NHL teams. And then
Yep,
we both found out that we were both watching. He was watching Minnesota Duluth. I was watching Western. We would talk about the games and our teams, and then we uh,
I gotcha.
we
snowballed
decided
from
to do
there.
this. Yeah. So he messages me like in October or something like that. He goes, "What are you doing on Thanksgiving?" Um, you want to go to Nashville? So I flew out to Michigan. We drove to Nashville. We were supposed to watch the Preds and
Preds
Preds and
abs.
Avs, and then a pipe broke because that game was at 1 o'clock and Western was playing Northeastern. They moved that to the practice rink. There is a story from that Wes absolutely enjoys because I enjoyed myself in Nashville. I know Nashville very well.
Yeah.
Um, but um, anyway, we were talking to Sam because he transferred from Northeastern and they're a very good program. And we're like, well, what brought you to Western? And he said it was the coaching and what they had talked about. And then also the fact they had Ethan, they had Jason, um, the
Well, they're
last couple of
pumping out
years. And they're
players now,
from,
man.
yeah,
They're showing what they can do, and they're becoming a powerhouse by getting their players to the next level.
and
And
I hate it because it goes against my Bulldogs. But you even look at the juniors team that won gold that Sam was on. There was Zegras, there was Faber, there was I
well,
think
but winning, it just it spawns people getting to next levels and going better places. It's like winning does that. It's like, and that's what was the hardest thing for me at my time at Western Michigan was, well, if you're gonna be in 11th place in the CCHA, you better be putting up numbers. And like I had my aspirations, and I had where I wanted to go, and like you want to play hockey the right way, but you also know that like you're on an 11th place team, you got to put up some numbers. And then all of a sudden you don't play hockey the right way. You're not playing defense the right way because of all that. And winning changes everything. And when I
mm-hmm,
did leave Western Michigan, I did have a very successful pro career that way. I won, I guess, everywhere except the coast. We lost in the finals, but um, every one of those teams, it took everybody to win. It took everybody playing hockey the best they could. And then everybody gets paid more and everybody goes better places or stays there and gets another contract. But like you have to win or else they don't want you back. That's just how hockey works.
oh, I think that's how every sport works. And then like even I said this at the beginning when you joined us, like I ended up playing basketball, but it was we'd win 3 games a year in hockey, we'd lose 3 games a year in basketball.
And winning's
A-
fun.
As a seventh grader, when you have to choose, I love hockey. I love hockey with all my heart. I
But you
wouldn't be
don't want to
doing
go out
this if
there
I
and get
didn't.
shit kicked by everybody because that's not
Exactly.
fun.
Exactly. So like
Well, it's like
I
Western
was gonna go
Michigan
win.
honestly could be the funnest school in the world, and it was. Honestly, it was. And I honestly can't imagine being on like a good team that was like nationally ranked, living in Kalamazoo, going to that school. It would be the time of your life. I had the time of my life there, and that was when hockey wasn't going well. It's like it went well individually, but that's not hockey. My last year when I was having a good year and I'm doing all that, it was the hardest time for me because we were losing and other guys were having a tough go with it all. And, it's depressing. No matter how many goals you score, it takes everybody to win.
And I think that's why Miami they lost literally their 2 best players this last offseason to the transfer portal. Red Savage went to Michigan State, and then Ludwig Person, their goalie, went to North Dakota because, well,
Well, and that's all
Miami is
different
just
for me,
shit
but
right now.
and that's
Yeah,
that's very
it's
interesting to me too that Miami's shit now because they were good when I was there. They had a shitty barn, and then I heard they got this great new facility and they're just powerhouse. And
Mm.
I don't know who's coaching there now. I don't know what goes on. I'm not saying anything about nothing, but I think coaching matters, and I think
oh
culture
he's gonna get
matters.
canned.
Well,
He's been there for
It's his fifth season, and he has
yeah, I was
not
gonna
but
gotten
like,
say
out of
five
eighth
but
years.
like
place in the
I'd say, like
NCHC.
I would say, is it's going the wrong direction by the sounds of it, and
Oh yeah,
I
Hmm.
lived
it's been
that, and I lived that, and I lived it going the wrong direction for too long, and like it that last season, man. I went from loving hockey more than anything in the world to my last year where you know, it was my junior year. I should have been up for the Hobie. It was my junior year. They should have been promoting me. They should have been getting it out there because I was having a year. I was up there for top scorer in the NCAA. They didn't do anything that way until my senior year when we're in 11th place in the CCHA and I'm scoring goals and like we're not winning anything. And then all of a sudden they're going to put on this Hobie thing for me. It's like, well, you're doing that because I'm a senior. You should have done that last year. Like, why are you doing that now? Because I
yeah.
shouldn't be a Hobie Baker winner. I'm not even close. We're in 11th place.
Um,
Anyways,
I there is
I guess I shouldn't talk about all this, right? I should keep to myself. I've
No, you're
kept to
good.
that's
myself a
fine.
long time.
No, you're good.
I do have a question because this kind of seems to be
I guess
a
this is live. People are listening right
About three of them, two of them.
eh,
We
um
don't get big views.
now. Good. I said too
the
much.
the question that I have is we get this a lot in Minnesota with pro hockey players coming back and coaching. Um, we have a lot of great coaches that didn't play in the pro ranks, but there was a few years where um, I did a little bit of broadcasting where I can't remember some of the names, but like the Edina head coach, Eden Prairie, or no, it was Edina, Elk River, and Grand Rapids. And Grand Rapids was Trent Klatt, and he was on a line with the Sedin twins in the NHL, playing the
Mhm.
pro ranks, and they're coaching high school. Do you think that helps the kids going forward that you have that professional experience to be able to
I
progress their careers versus,
honestly,
somebody else?
I think there's a million different personalities in hockey. Just because you played in the NHL, just because you played anywhere, doesn't make you a good coach, doesn't make you able to relate to the kids, doesn't make their hockey journey any better unless you have the personality for it, you know how to treat them, you know how to do it right. There's guys in pro hockey that I don't think would be good coaches. I can't. You
Wayne
can't say
Gretzky.
it. Well, I mean, like there's a lot of different personalities out there, and I always say people play hockey like their personality. Like there's some guys that are just up and down, work as hard as you can, but don't see it all, and that's usually kind of how they live. And like everybody plays hockey like their personality. I think it helps. I think if someone like that has a resume like that and they're willing to help your kids and try and help them get better, I think you should definitely be giving them a shot to see what they can do. Because minor hockey and all that, there can be a lot of politics, and um, they don't always pick the right people for the jobs. And I think that yeah, I think you can help. I think you can make a huge impact. If you can get kids to love hockey and you're not telling them to go home and shoot 100 pucks and they just go home and do it because they love hockey and they want to get better and they had so much fun at the rink that day that they want to go home and get better for their teammates but also for themselves because they just love it and they can't stop playing. I think that's when it changes kids. I think just coaching to coach, if you don't have a true passion and deep down drive to see kids succeed and get better, I mean, you just do it another ice time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You have to have the passion. My dad, he coached basically every sport under the sun, but he had the passion for the kids. And he ended up being the varsity, the varsity basketball coach for about 10 years, but my sophomore year he had it, but he just had the passion. But just for hockey wise, he never played hockey, whatever. But Trent Klatt in Grand Rapids, they produced so many good players while he was the head coach, but he was also an amateur scout for the Islanders at the time. And I think he's still doing that. And he stepped down because he's like, I need to focus more on this. But Wes will know these names. Well, Zach Stayskal, the current one of the current UMD goalies, he was part of that. Micah Miller, um, there's a few others that came out of Grand Rapids while Klatt was the coach, but they loved the game and they're moving on to a pro
Well,
career and they were
it
able to
sounds like
know.
he was doing it right and he was doing it for the right reasons. Because, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this in a small town. We're just a B center, and I have the thing where we're far enough away from the AAA areas that it's a major commitment. And I want, like, this is where we live now. This is our hometown, and I want to raise these puppies right. That like, there's hardly been any pro players out of this town. It's like, well, if I can try and ingrain the love of the game in you guys, and I can see some potential in some kids, and it's like, if I can do this right, I mean, it would mean a lot to me in 5, 6 years from now that you guys were going places, and I could feel a part of that. You know,
How big is the town that you're in?
I think it's like 10,000 people. I don't know.
Ah, shit, that's a big town to me.
Well, yeah, they're like, but no, like our team is doing really well, and I see the friendships forming. And the way I always looked at hockey was you could be teammates for a year or you can be friends for life. And it depends how you treat each other, how much fun it is going to the rink, all of that stuff. And I just want them to be friends for life, you know?
Yeah, that's my brother. So now us and our rival school are combined in total. I think the town is like together. Well, the whole conglomerate is probably about 10,000 people. But my brother, he was one of about 19 seniors on his hockey team, and he's still friends with just a ton of them, and
Mhm.
he loves it, and that's what it's supposed to be.
That's what hockey's supposed to be. A game. It's supposed to be fun.
Of course, he's a dumbass because he's a goalie, so but I can say that.
They're weirdos, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. That's why you'd like Trevor, though. He's a weirdo. He's a
Yeah,
goalie.
I like goalies. I always had a good relationship with my goalies. Yeah. So I guess we haven't talked much about the Bronco days, have we, Wes? What else do you got for me?
Um, let's
I was
see.
just gonna ask Wes the same thing.
I'm trying to play back through. We've covered so much, but there's still like so much of your career that we haven't even touched.
Well,
Um,
that's when you told me it was going to be 30 minutes. I'm like, what are we going to talk about 30 minutes? Because when
I mean,
I get out
we're
here with a fella, it's like an hour and a half to 2 hours.
oh yeah,
The
we're at an hour with you.
I like I'm just like watching your podcast. Wes is like half hour. I'm like, well, this is
Well,
bullshit.
okay. Let's be clear
It's like,
here. I'm not
hey, it's
trying to waste anybody's time. Okay. I think if I say it's a half hour, I can get more yeses, and then if the conversation goes, it goes. Whereas if I'm like, it's some for some people at 9 o'clock, 9:30 on a Tuesday
oh,
night
they
is
can get
sometimes
tired, right?
a hard time to make. All right.
They
People work
and
nine
for
to fives or eight to
Ethan.
fours Wednesday morning.
and for me, it's interesting because this jazzes me up. This gives me energy. It's like I was looking forward to this today to talking Bronco hockey, and
Yeah.
this gets my juices flowing. And it's why I do so many. Is like when I book one and I know I got a chat coming up, like I'm so excited. And like it's not just about the hockey talk, but it's about getting to know the guy. And like this is my time to be me, right? It's like I got to go do the coaching, I got to do my real world, I got to go do all this
Yeah.
stuff. And it's like, well, this is when I actually get to be me. I get to be Wally, the guy that was a Western Michigan Bronco, that was a
Okay.
hockey guy.
So we hear like a lot of guys when they leave the sport. Some guys say they miss the game itself, but I think the overall majority they say like they miss the locker room. And I think we're seeing like this uptick in podcasts of former players and stuff because they're. Do you feel like you're getting some of that locker room
Well,
interaction back
that's
when you have like
I
guys you played with or
you
played
can
against
call it
even?
the locker room. You miss the locker room, but
It's the relationship
it's
with the teammates and the
but
guys.
it's that. But there's so much more to it than that. It's like everywhere I went in my life, every town I went to, whether it was in Germany, whether it was in Cardiff, Wales, whether it was in Denmark, when I showed up somewhere, I had 20 best friends. I had a team of friends. The wives would get to know each other, the kids would get to know each other. It was your hockey family, and you're away for holidays, you're away from everything, and then it's all of a sudden gone. Then all of a sudden you come back to a town and you start working a normal job, and maybe the people at work aren't into hockey and aren't into the same things you're into, and it's like, who the fuck around this town wants to know everything I've done in my hockey career? Nobody. And I missed all my friends, I missed all my teammates, and I missed the banter. I missed, like, it's not just the locker room, it's like getting to know your teammate, getting to know him. Like that's what I missed. I loved at Western Michigan that my roommates and my parents, everybody's parents would come on the weekend and they'd watch the game and they would be back at the U Club partying with us till 3 in the morning. And the parents were a part of the hockey family and everybody was in it together. And then all of a sudden you have people at work. It's not the same relationship as being on a hockey team where you're family and like you literally get to know everything about each other, and your parents come over, visit, go out for dinners with people, and everybody is in it together. And then all of a sudden it's gone and you just like work all day, and then you come home and like nothing happens, and you do your parenting, and it's like there's nothing exciting. There's no going out in front of 7,000 people and playing a hockey game. There's none of it. There's no there. It's just you just start life completely over, and that's been your life, your whole life. You've been a hockey guy, and then all of a sudden it's just taken from you and it's just gone. And I had a very hard time with it, and it was starting my podcast that got me back into hockey, got me back loving the game again. Um, I realized my accomplishments instead of what I didn't do, because when I came back with not much in the bank account and I put in 10 years professional, and myself and others thought I was going places that I didn't get to and I didn't make the money I wanted, I was resentful at the game. I didn't love it when I came back. I was pissed off at the game. I was pissed off at my career, myself, for how it all went. Um, and then I didn't realize like I'd won championships in like 4 different countries, and I had brothers for life that if I call them at any second, they're here to chat. And it's brought back my love of the game. it's brought back everything for me. And it is a beautiful sport, but it can be a dead end for people. And I know I got lucky with the job I have now and the people I work for that it worked out for me. But man, that fucking transition time is brutal. And any guy that ever wants to start a podcast that was a player, not a player, I got time. If
Might not
you
have
got
it.
time,
Oh, there
I'll
you
be
go.
there if it helps you. Huh?
I was gonna say may not have internet though. You kind of paused on us for a second, but we got you
Oh,
back.
really?
Oh, you're good. It could be me.
Okay.
I'm in a cement
Anyways,
bunker here in my
Uh,
house.
it was,
are you in
it was
Kalamazoo
good.
then?
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. No, I got here, fell in love with Western hockey. Didn't play growing up. I lived near Detroit, so like I had the Red Wings when the Red Wings were top tier Red
Right.
Wings when it was Detroit Red Wings and Avs going at it year in and year out.
Yeah.
So that was my team growing up. Got here, like I said, didn't know Western had a D1 program. My FYE teacher my freshman year was like, everyone has to go to a game. Like we're gonna pick one game. We're gonna go as a class. And it was like game over from then on. Like I know what I'm doing every Friday and Saturday night until hockey season's over. Like,
That's awesome though. And you know what? It's the same in the UK was there's a lot of people that weren't hockey fans and then you just take them once and they're hooked.
oh,
And
dude, it's
like,
so much fun.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, and you would get there depending on who we were playing. Like if it was Michigan or Michigan State, you're there early. Like I think the earliest I got to a game, door opened at 6. I think I was outside at 2:30 in the afternoon. And like, I mean, it's like dead winter too. Like December after, like
I remember showing up for games where the Broncos, the Los Lunatics are literally wrapped around the arena,
around
and
the
we're
building.
just showing up to like 2 hours before game time.
Yeah. Oh, I sent you a picture of the most recent game that I went to. That's me with my family on Twitter, so you can see the game day fit.
Oh, I'd love to.
It's the
But yeah, dude, I go a little bit different. Or I'm a little bit different of a guy. I went to both of the CCHA
that's an understatement.
finals there in 2012 and 13 when they won it in 12 or 11 and 12 when they lost it in 11 and won it in 12. I drug Mike to Nashville.
He I I will say I willingly wore a Western jersey, but I wasn't happy about it. I just wasn't gonna change jerseys for Northeastern, and I'm like, well, I don't have anything against Western, so I will wear this jersey.
Northeastern, small world. That was the other school that was hot on my case there before I made a decision. I went on a recruiting trip there, saw the campus, saw the arena. They did the whole deal, offered me my scholarship, and then it just it, downtown Boston wasn't for a small town Ontario guy, and the hustle and bustle and everything around there. Then
They
I got
didn't
to
have
Western.
enough. They didn't have enough hookers for you.
Hookers? They don't have hookers in Western Michigan, do they?
Um, it depends on what part of Kalamazoo you're in, my
Yeah,
friend.
I guess there probably is some. But no, we were college kids. We didn't have the money for that.
Nowhere to
Oh no!
go.
If
Where are you
they
looking?
if they only have like a tooth or two, they're like $2-3. You're fine.
Like a turd.
Uh, good stuff. What were we talking about?
Uh, the Lost and Lunatics and
Oh yeah.
Wes
Oh, I saw
leaving there.
your the paint job there. So
Yeah.
I saw that's how you're showing up to hockey games. So how did your daughter get? Is that just recently? Because your daughter's gonna grow up with her old man painted
Oh
like that at hockey games, eh?
yeah. No, I've been like I said, I started in 09 painting my face, and it's just become its own thing. But yeah,
I
that's home.
started
That's
I
home or
started spray
away.
painting my body in 2015, 16. So, I mean, whatever you're into, right?
I'm sitting there in
That's
Nashville, and I'm like, I gotta ride around with this some bitch. Like, what the hell am I doing? And then Wes was driving me because, well,
it
like I
was my
said,
car,
I
and
it
you were
was your
drunk.
yeah, it was your car. I was absolutely hosed, and we go through some drive through, and the gal looks at him. I really like your face paint. Oh, thanks. And then there was like we get in the elevator and there was like two like 12-year-old girls and they looked at him and they were like, your face paint is really cool. Thanks. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm glad that was their reaction because I thought they were just gonna be fucking terrified inside this elevator with this
Mm.
dipshit.
Yeah, no, that's home or away games. It doesn't matter where.
You
My
make
du-
it to road games too, eh?
I've been to a few. I want to hit the rest of the NCHC. I went to Colorado College's old arena. Was it the World Broadmoor Arena that was just insane in Colorado Springs? But I got to go back to their new one. And then I've been to Miami, and I did not like their use of space. Their arena, like, it's nice. You can tell that it's newer, but there's some design choices that I don't know fit in with what you want in an arena and to promote an atmosphere. I think they
Mhm. I
gave up
understand that.
atmosphere for looks.
Yeah.
Uh, but I really
It's
want to
weird
hit.
talking about all this though, because like the arenas have changed. It's been a long time since I was played for the Broncos, and when you move on and everybody does in life, and you know your buddies have kids and families, and it's like all my class, we live all different places, and we try to make time to see each other, and it's a challenge. But this is bringing back a lot of memories. So thanks for having me on because
Oh,
yeah, it's been forever since like I talked about this. And so what I want to do, this is what I want to do, and I know maybe not many people are listening, but I'm coaching under 13 team here this year. I'm not sure. My daughter's into hockey. I don't know if she's going to play next year. I don't know if she'd be hurt if I want to coach boys again because I coached her last year and had a blast. But if I'm coaching the under 13 boys next year, I want to bring my whole team to Western Michigan to a game, and I want them to see what it's like. And it will be it could be my first time back if I don't make it to the golf trip this summer, but I haven't really been back. I would love to experience that with my under 13 kids, that they could see an NCAA game, they could see the Lost and Lunatics, and I'd get to like come home, right?
oh yeah. I mean, it's. I mean, it's different than even when like I started going. I mean, campus is completely different. Like, you will not believe the changes that they've made to campus. I mean, they were
I
even making
bet
them
you
while I
you're
was
right.
there.
I bet you I can't imagine because I went back for my my roommate's wedding, and it wasn't that long after. Oh, he's been married well over a decade, I think. I don't know, but
Yeah.
things have changed.
Oh yeah. Um, main campus is like completely different. I graduated 10 years ago now, and I mean, it's constantly changing up there. Um, but Lawson has remained Lawson. It's
Right.
my favorite place to be on campus. It was my favorite place to be on campus as a student. Like, I couldn't wait for Friday at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Jump out of leave my dorm, catch the bus around campus, get off at Miller, walk across that street and that bridge, and go hang out at Lawson until 10 o'clock at night when the game's over. And then march my happy ass back all the way across campus to the valleys. Uh,
That's a good walk.
oh, it's a terrible walk when the team loses and it's -10 outside, but it's not too bad of a walk when you just beat Michigan.
Right. Yeah. It's the same as the players leaving the arena. They feel the same.
Yeah.
Winning is the opposite of losing.
100%.
Yeah.
And
Sounds
then
like I think what we should do is next year when UMD comes to Western, assuming with the new alignment that we're gonna go there, that should be a good series because it has been the last few years. Similarly built teams. I'll fly my happy ass out to Kalamazoo, um, pass out on Wes's couch for more than an hour and a half or whatever we did that
yeah, that
that day.
was brutal. So we drove back from Nashville. We stopped in Chicago to watch the Chicago Wolves and the Dallas Stars play an AHL game. Get back to my place at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and his flight leaves Grand Rapids at like 6. So we get just enough time for a nap and and a bathroom break before we're back on the road and he's on his way home. But
Yeah, that was rough. But
that was a year ago this week. That was such a fun trip.
it was a fun trip. I think it would be a fun thing to go, and then we can actually get to meet you and go.
Yeah, no, so for me, it'll be all about their schedule compared
Yeah.
to my schedule. And we just had a tournament canceled on us. And then all of a sudden we had a weekend open up, and I was like, well, what are the Broncos? I'm like, this would be a big ask for the parents out of nowhere, but it's like, well, if the Broncos were playing at home, I checked it out right away and it said they were playing in Colorado College. And I was like, all right, it's not going to work. And then I moved on. But I, I, I mean, I like making an impact. I did as a player, as a teammate. I don't want to just be normal. I like making an impact. And I think if you're coaching a bunch of under 13 kids that have never seen NCAA hockey, and they think the OHL is a big deal and whatever. It's like, well, you see an NCAA game, it can change your life. Like,
Yeah.
as soon as I saw one, I knew that's what I wanted. I didn't want the OHL. I wanted to do that. And the people that play in the OHL have no idea what it can be like. Western Michigan is a special place, but there's a lot of special places. There's a lot of schools that are really awesome. And the USA does school right compared to Canada. Like, it's not even similar. The school spirit, the fans, the way they get behind teams and their sporting events, it's not even similar.
I have two really quick things. First of all, when you bring those kids to Kalamazoo, hopefully there is not a number 4, even though they definitely know what the word means. Um, and then two, did you ever play in Duluth when you were playing, or did you guys not play there? Because I might have been just young enough not to.
No, we
No.
didn't. I never played Duluth ever.
Okay, probably a good thing because the old deck was honestly one of the shittiest arenas that I've played in. Like, I mean, been in. The fans were they had like a small little section for the band behind the ice, but everybody else was up above the ice. Now the new Amsoil Arena, it is a really really cool place. So if you ever get to that barn, it's a cool place. Only problem is all the sound goes up instead of towards the ice. So even if you're sitting close, you're like, or on the other side, you're like, what are the students chanting? Like,
Well,
we don't
there's
really
some
know.
of the wildest arenas I've ever played in. I mean, Germany was wild, but like NCAA arenas, they're not all the same is what I like. Is like these arenas they
Hmm.
make now, you get inside them and they all kind of are the same. They all look the same. You get on the NHL benches and you look around, well, they're all pretty much the same thing.
Hmm.
NCAA, man, there's characters within the barns, like characters where the student section is. Like back in the old Maine arena, I'll never forget as a freshman going to Maine and playing when they had been a powerhouse. They were a powerhouse at that point, and going into that arena in a sold out barn with the student section or the band playing like in warm ups right behind the net, and like it was interesting. I wouldn't say what all I did, but it was interesting where like if it hit the crossbar and went up in the crowd, that like they'd throw the puck back at you, and then that could be like, okay, so it's game on. Like, what are you trying to do here? I'm wearing equipment. What do you want to do here?
Was that like right in the time where they had lost to the Gophers in the national championship?
I know
Like early
they were one of the top ranked teams. It was like 2000 whatever. Whenever I played there,
like
2002 3, and they
yeah,
had a
yep,
squad.
that would have been right at the time, like
Well, they had a
early
squad. We went
2000s.
there and tied them and lost nail biter and played really well both games. And to see that atmosphere in that arena when I had been in Elmira, Ontario, and I'd been in some great atmospheres in small town Ontario, but You get to NCAA and you see how big it can be, and then you're all of a sudden in that game, man. It's an eye opener.
That's the fun part about especially college hockey, like you said, is a lot of these schools hockey is their number one, and especially in the NCHC with where Western is now. I think Western, well, I guess North Dakota technically is full D1 and so is Denver, but football isn't the number one. Denver hockey is number one. St. Cloud, Division 2 typically, except for hockey. UMD,
It changes
uh,
your experience at a school
North
too,
Dakota.
because
Yeah.
you know what the students want and what they're into, and it does mean a lot as a player when people around campus are talking about your team and not the other teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with the NCHC, like I think Omaha might have been part of the WCHA when it folded, but Miami and Western were the only other two non-WCHA teams that came into the NCHC. So bringing that in, there is a huge tradition with the old WCHA,
Yeah.
not what had become and is now the new CCHA. And there's just that tradition of hockey, and the fans love it, and it just makes it so much fun going back. And when I do get up to Duluth, because I live by the Twin Cities now, but getting up to Duluth and going to a game, especially against a rival, or going up to St. Cloud when UMD plays there, it's yeah, things get a little feisty. Of course, I make friends and then stay out till 3 a.m. And realize that you overslept and the hotel thought you were dead at a playoff game. That different story, but it just makes it's so much more fun when the fans are into
College
it.
hockey is as fun as it gets, man. When everybody buys in and it's a rocking building, it's like awesome. Yeah, it's when that place was rocking and it's sold out, it's like it's memories. Like it's like you grow up playing hockey and wanting to get to a certain level or place, and then you play a game at Lawson Ice Arena with those lunatics going Looney Tunes, and you're out there with your best friends, and you're like, shit, like this is kind of like making it, you know?
Is
And I know that it kind of answers. I was just gonna say, Trevor. We've asked him about it and everything, and it's like, how much do the fans play? Because you hear the players, oh, the fans did this, and it's like, how much is it just patronizing people? But even just what you said there, it goes along with what Trevor has told us. It definitely does make a difference, the fans, where you don't want to let these people down, and you elevate your game.
Oh
Just
yeah.
because they're so
Well,
behind you.
I mean, when a building's rocking, and it's hard to suck. When it's rocking like that, it's like when we were at Western Michigan, we had a knack of winning home games and then losing on the road, and it was like it 100% matters. Like it's not even similar when you get people behind you and it gives you that extra shot of life. It's there's yeah nothing like it. Do you guys want? I'll give you one more story, Wes. I know you were waiting to ask something there, but my most embarrassing moment as a Bronco, I would say,
oh boy.
was when on a penalty kill, I went out one knee to block the shot on the D man, and he took a slap shot, and it hit me right in the dick. Like I had my jock on, and my jock worked, but like the tip of my dick was touching the jock. So when the puck
Hmm.
hit the jock, like right on the tip, and I laid in front of the student section, rolling around, grabbing my penis, and squeezing the head, so because it felt like it was throbbing. So I grabbed my dick, like I went into my hockey pants. I went down right in there and grabbed it, and I was just squeezing it because it was throbbing so much. And the whole student section is watching this, and I'm rolling around grabbing my penis, and I couldn't talk, I couldn't think. And then I think we might have even won that game, and we have everybody back to our house, and like my dick turned purple, just the head,
Jesus Christ.
right?
Did you have any offers from some attractive young ladies to help you with that?
No, no, I had my wife now,
Oh,
but no,
you had your wife
you
at
couldn't
that
even
point.
you couldn't
Okay.
even look at this thing, man. It was swollen. It was purple. It wasn't healthy.
I feel like at Western there might have been still some gals. It'd be like Minnesota. If
It's a
you're a
free
hockey
for all.
player,
It's a free for all at Western Michigan. There's no doubt
It
it,
about it.
is. It is
it's
an
like
interesting place to be.
it's
It's
like
I mean,
Minnesota.
it's like when you grow up and you think, so like what could hockey be? And then you get to Western Michigan, you're like, so hockey could be hockey. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, in Minnesota, it wouldn't have mattered if you had a dick that looked like Sloss face from the Goonies.
Jeepers.
If you're a hockey player, there are gals that'll
See,
help you out.
and I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I was like always the 5'8" fat guy in the team, so usually they're looking for the 6'4", six pack strapping guys that are hockey players, right? Like I said, I don't look like a hockey player.
No, and like I said, in Minnesota, you play hockey and you're good at it. It don't matter.
Okay, I gotta ask
It
this
don't matter.
question because this was
You've
like
been waiting. I
the
know
most.
you've been waiting.
Oh, this was the most influential hockey video I've ever seen in my Western Michigan life, and I'm pretty sure you might already know what I'm talking about. And I'm pretty sure I've shown it to Mike.
Chris
But
Frank's hit in
yes,
Michigan.
yes,
Oh fuck!
I need someone who was there
I was there. God, I
to
was there.
fill me in on this because I've heard you and Chris mention it briefly, but and at some point I need to talk to Chris too because, like I said, he was my favorite player when I got to Western, and the entire group that was there and watched him play knew that Frank the Tank was his nickname and it wasn't going to be anybody else's. 'Cause
Oh,
I think the year after he graduated, or maybe it was 2 years after, we got the goaltender Frank Slabowski. And half the
yeah.
student section who didn't know who Chris was would chant Frank the Tank, and the ones who had seen Frank were like, no, 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 no. This is Big Slabowski. We're going to give him the Big Lebowski reference, and that'll be his. But Frank the Tank is Chris Frank #2 in the defense, and that's who it's going to be. And stop trying to give someone else's nickname away just because they share a
No,
name.
no, he is Frank the Tank. When he started at Western Michigan, man, he was fast, but also like thick and fast and could hit like, and that, like I said about the way we played was they promoted big hits and like really getting in there, and he'd blow some people up with hits I've never seen in my life. Um, Wild stuff. And then you'd see the whole crowd chanting Frank the Tank. And like as a freshman who's been living out west Canada or wherever, to come to Western Michigan and get like treated like that, and like I'm sure he like it would have meant so much to him, and he would have wanted to kill the next guy even more for everybody, and he did, and he kept killing people, and it was wild. There were some of the biggest body checks I've ever seen, but that night in Michigan, the YouTube video that's been watched however many times, I'll never forget the hit I saw right before that, the one that there isn't a video of. It was one of the dirtiest plays I've ever seen in hockey, and it was Sean Weaver, may rest in peace, beauty teammate, beauty Bronco. He was cutting across the ice with his head down, which I got. I'd say this to his face. He did. He played his head down quite a bit, but he cut across with his head down. And a guy on the other team, I watched him, and if there was video of this back in the day, this guy would have been spent a long time. He put his elbow up and he meant to hit him in the head with his elbow. And I watched it from the bench. I saw it happen. He cut across, and the guy came across and put his elbow up and elbowed him right in the head, knocked him out cold. It wasn't good. And then right after that, Chris Frank hit a guy harder than you can hit a guy in hockey.
That man's soul left his body.
Man, it
Oh,
was
yeah.
wild. And like
I just sent you
I
the
don't know if
video, Mike.
you heard like
Mhm.
Frankie said he like became his teammate one time, and like in pro they ran into each other, and he had like a collapsed lung, he had whatever. And like just to think that that guy kept playing hockey after that day is impressive. Because that is by far the biggest hit you can ever lay on a person in hockey. And what's interesting was it could be charging because he had skated all the way down the ice, but the actual motion of the body check couldn't have been cleaner.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
However, in today's
like
hockey,
you
I'm
said,
pretty sure that's 5 in a game
Oh, jeepers.
immediately.
Yeah, you
well,
think
and
like the
and
guy,
you're dropping the gloves, and everybody's fighting everybody, and it's
but
like,
like that hit
eh,
was, but like that hit was it was, but it's
spectacular.
who Chris Frank was. It's he wasn't doing it because he wanted to go hurt a guy.
No.
He was doing it because they just did that to Sean Weaver. He
Yeah.
did that because our team needed someone to do something after they just did that and just knocked one of our boys out um, over dirty play. And like the poor guy that did get hit, that sucks. But it's like, well, your teammate did that to you.
Yeah.
That's
It
hockey, though. That's how it
it
works. And that's why there should be fighting in hockey, because that's what takes away the bullshit in the game. Is if you do something like that, Chris Frank will come fight you. But when you can't fight in college hockey and you can't fight elsewhere, it's like, well, so now I have to go run this kid and like actually hurt him when I could have just had a fist fight with the guy that did that.
Yeah.
I think the main problem with things nowadays is any big hit, especially in the pro ranks, any big hit, whether it's clean or not, somebody's got to go fight somebody, and it's like, no,
But
the
that's
dumbass.
hockey. That's part of it.
Well,
If your guy gets blown up, if I got blown up and it's a clean hit in the neutral zone, if I have a guy come in and fight for me, that means a lot to me. That means I know my buddy's got my back. I don't
I,
care if it's a clean hit. You're allowed to fight people in hockey.
oh yeah, I'm not saying like don't fight anybody. I just think that if my dumbass has my head down and
Well, there's that too. Yeah.
I get blown up by a clean hit that's completely legal,
Well, then a lot of
that's
times
my
they keep
fault.
a
I don't
lot
want
of.
anybody to do
I
that.
agree
Like,
with that. There's a lot of times where it's like my fault, but like I'll still never forget this. Was I was in Germany? It's during the lockout. I'm playing with Junior Bruno Gervais, who's a NHL player for the New York Islanders, and I tried to take a pass in the neutral zone that I maybe should have just let go, but when I tried to take the pass and I did get blown up, he was the first guy in there right away and said, "You don't hit him like that." And that meant the world to me as a teammate. It showed our team what we would do, it showed their team what we would do. And whether it was a clean hit or not, and I put myself in that position, it still fucking means the world.
I mean, I think there's also a difference between like a good clean hit and a guy taking liberties. Like it might be a clean
Well, there
hit,
is,
but
but there's
there's
also
no.
like huge clean hits that it's
Yeah.
like, well, you don't do that to him because we're a hockey team, and I don't care if that was clean. There needs to be some kind of a response.
Oh yeah.
That you
That's
can't just let people do shit like that,
yeah.
even if it's clean.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like I mean, there's clean hits that like you didn't have to hit him that way in that circumstance of the game. Like it's one of those things where like if a team, kind of like when a guy sellies on a 5-0 goal and you're like,
Right.
why'd you selly that hard? Like cool,
Well,
you get the
that's
selly
and
because you
that's when
scored the
somebody on your
goal.
team needs to do something.
Yeah.
That's why when you talk about sellies in a game, it's like I would never think of a selly before a game because I think that's a punk move. And if someone does that and they're up 5-0 and then they do that shit, somebody better go do something on my team because
Right.
I'll spear him if you don't.
yeah, and
I'd rather the tough guy take care of it instead of me, but that shit doesn't happen against our team and we're losing.
Yeah, I mean, there's
And
nothing against the rules about it, but it's still like it's not the way to play the game in the
No,
confines of the
there's the
situations.
right way to play the game, and when you're up, you're up. and you act like you're winning 5-0, and then you know the other team's pissed off. You play the game, and then the next time you play them again, it's like you don't have to act like punks just because you're winning.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like, last minute of the game and you score a huge goal, like you score the game winner, go ahead and
That's different.
celebrate
Then
that.
that's the
But
time
Yeah.
to jump in the bench, right? With
but
everybody.
but even with what Wes was kind of saying too, it's like if there's a play and there's a huge hit, and that this is a problem that I have with the NHL. Like if there is a time where players are gonna collide and it's just a huge hit, like it's a hockey play. You can see it's going to happen, and one guy is just gonna get the brunt of it. But immediately they're like, "Oh, we gotta fight somebody." It's like, no, but like then you were saying your teammate, you got lit up in the center of the ice, clean hit, he stood up for you. Like, you don't have to hit him like that. That's completely different. But now in the NHL, like even if it's a completely like two guys are going for the puck in the corner and one guy gets blown up, they're like, we gotta drop the gloves. And that's the
I
part
think the
that I don't
exact
like.
opposite. I think it's the exact opposite. I think there's not nearly enough fighting in the NHL. Not even close. If I built a team, I would have a team of dudes that could chuck them at any time, and they would play hockey hard. And when things happen, they would all stick up for each other. I think the NHL is a bunch of pussies now.
Have you
I mean, that's why we got Ryan Reeves, and now we have Pat Maroon.
Ryan Reeves is trying his best out there. He's got like 0 points. He's like -10. I'm not talking about Ryan Reeves. Those are the guys they brought to the UK. I'm talking about the guys that can play hockey but also stick up for themselves and their teammates. I'm
So
not
like,
talking about the gigantic guys that and Ryan Reeves can play hockey. I'm talking about the guys that aren't very good at hockey and were making millions of dollars because they were gigantic. We don't need those guys in the game. We need guys that play hockey the right way. I
so
sponsor the captain of the Manchester Storm. My podcast does. The captain of the Manchester Storm is not much bigger than me, and he plays hockey the right fucking way. He beats people up, he scores goals, he sticks up for his teammates. If someone blows someone up, he's first one in there and saying, "You don't do that to my teammate." And I sponsor him, and I sponsor him with my whole heart because he plays hockey the right way. It doesn't matter how big you are, you have your teammates back. And if someone gets blown up, yeah, you fight him because you stand up for each other. And as soon as you let your buddy get blown up and maybe get injured and is going off the ice and nobody did nothing, your team's a bunch of bitches.
I think Marcus Foligno,
And I'm
and
a little
I
guy
don't
that scored goals.
I
Think
don't
about that.
follow. I don't follow. I mean, I follow the NHL quite a bit, but not as much. But Marcus Foligno is that same type of player. He scored 20 some goals a couple years ago,
And
but
could do it all.
he
Yeah.
will he will if you get blown up, he will throw hands with
But
the
and
best of
those are the
them.
type of guys that become
I love
captains
him,
and leaders though, is what
and
this guy in Manchester,
he has
man.
an A. He's
Yeah.
got an A on his chest, and it's like, yeah, you should. Matt Dumba was the same way here
When you think
before he got traded.
guys though, like nowadays, if someone gets hit clean and they fight, and it's like, do you remember what it was like in the '90s? Like, man, like all they had to do was fart, and all of a sudden it was a line brawl, and it was like, well,
Yeah, yep.
and it's like, well, that was when to me, I mean, I never got injured fighting. I know some people have, but like, I get injured getting blown up. I don't get injured fighting people.
Yeah, because you know it's coming. That the
What? Well,
worst hits.
yeah. Well,
That's the
No.
you
thing.
got
The
to have
worst
your head up
hits.
playing hockey, and like you can put yourself in vulnerable positions, but you did that to yourself. But if it doesn't happen often, and if when it does happen, nobody steps up and does nothing, and then you skate back to your bench thinking, "Well, I got blown up," or you skate back to your bench thinking, "I will never forget that you just did that for me." That's a hockey team. That's how you win.
The only ones that concern me are when the guy gets blown up and he's right by the boards, and the next dude in just smashes the guy, and then he lands on the player who just got blown up. And now
Right?
there's sticks and skates, and that dude's like, no one can get to that dude. I'm like, well, now we've created more of a problem. Please don't step on your teammate who is
When
at the bottom
someone's
of that
injured,
pile.
yeah, when someone's injured, you need people need to help them, and you need to not be causing the kerfuffle around them.
Like, go to the opposite blue line or something. Like, get
Well,
away
right,
before you're gonna fight the guy.
Yeah.
to me, I honestly, I find it very interesting that like there's junior tough guys and there's all these tough guys, but then when you get around actual professional tough guys that understand the game and know when to do it, know why to do it, they don't need a coach to tell them. Like, I had never been around it really, because we were puppies. I go to Germany. I'd played with Trevor Hendricks, and in the coast, we go to the finals. He can fight, he can score, he can do a lot of things, but I don't see him then for 10 years, and we meet in Cardiff, Wales again together, and he's become like a tough guy. He wasn't just a power play guy like he was in the OHL. He's 10 years in now, and like he fights. And we talked a lot. He was one of my closest guys in the team, but like he knew when to do it. He knew when to help me. He knew when to help his teammates. He knew when to come off the bench as third guy to save a guy's life. Like, the coach didn't need to tell him when to do it. And then there's the guys that get all flustered and wound up and are fighting just to fight, where there's guys that like they understand the game and know when and why to do it. If that makes sense.
Oh no, 100%.
No, 100% makes sense.
Because I was impressed, man. I went to a new league back then, and there was a lot of fighting and a lot of tough guys, and I am not tough, and I can't beat anybody up. But I felt safe. I felt protected, and I felt like I could do whatever the hell I wanted out there, and they would have my back, and that means the world as a hockey player.
I think we're gonna wrap it up because it's getting kind of late for me and Mike, but we definitely want to have you back on because this was a
It's not just
great
late
time
for you too.
Yeah, and for yourself there. We got to hit our picks for the weekend real quick. If you want to partake, please do. We're back in non-conference play, so maybe you have an opinion on some of these teams. But
Oh shit! I gotta.
we have
hang
a
on.
little.
Let me
we
pull
have
up
a
my
little
notes.
season series going here. I think I'm currently ahead on the pick'ems.
That's what you guys were talking about when I joined in, eh?
Yeah, we were just recapping last week.
He's up by a game on me.
Okay, so who's playing?
All right, we got St. Lawrence is coming to town against Western, and I've got a Western sweep. I think they're going to keep the juice flowing after sweeping Colorado College.
Yeah, I'm in on that.
I think so too.
Western.
St. Lawrence is just kind of. They're one of the kind of like a Niagara or something. They're kind of one of those softy opponents, especially for the NCHC teams, especially the top teams like Western can be, and have proven to be.
Here we go. Here's an interesting one: Mercyhurst at Miami on Friday, and then at Mercyhurst on Sunday. Both teams near the bottom of their conferences. Miami hasn't been the Miami that Wally would know. They've been the Miami
that's for sure.
That the NCHC knows. I don't think
because that punk Andy Green finally left after playing against me every shift. What a mess.
I think Western is I think on like a 10-game winning streak against Miami right now. But this is kind of a little bit of a suck bowl. It feels like when the Broncos and the Bears were on Thursday Night Football. To be honest,
I actually don't. I'd like to. I don't really have anything with Mercyhurst. So I would say Miami. Even if we had some great battles there, so I'm gonna go with Miami.
I got them splitting. I got the home teams winning each one.
Miami aren't wrong.
Miami played decently against North Dakota, who's now currently the number 1 team in the country, with their big brand of transfers.
I think I have it. What was it? Hang on, because I'm terrible at this, and I completely forgot about that.
Well, he's waiting there. It's interesting that like North Dakota can bring in those transfers, though, right? It's like, well, what are they doing to get them to want to come? And
I think a lot of it's the
coaching.
I think a lot of it's just the history of North Dakota. I mean,
those kids could have gone there when they were getting recruited. Like, why do they got transfer there? Just because they had a good year? Did they have all great years and they all say?
Well, see, here's the thing too: is North Dakota had a lot of guys transfer out last year. They had a lot of guys move up into the pro ranks. Like their whole entire decor is a new decor this year. Whether it's, I think they had like 7
And they're
transfers
first in the country. And to
and they're
think
first in
of
the country.
a coach being able to do that, it sounds like they got a coach because I don't care how talented everybody is, though. Like you have a whole new decor and you're first in the country.
The problem that I have with North Dakota is they I think last year, maybe 2 years ago, was the last year that they had Hackstall, the Kraken coach, his recruiting class. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, we need to get guys in here. And they finished 6th in the conference. They lost a bunch of guys to pro ranks, or a bunch of guys transferred out. They brought transfers in, and basically Coach Barry is relying on the transfer portal. Yes, he does have to get them to work together as a cohesive unit, but if that's what he's relying on, I don't have that much faith in what he's doing with that program. Especially if you can't get guys to stay, because they lost a lot of younger guys that were like, now we're out. We're going on, even though they knew they were going to have an opportunity to play this year.
Well,
They
you would if yeah,
they
with
went
the
out.
transfer portal, that's a whole different thing in the world
We're-
because um if you're a young guy
It
coming up
is.
in a program and they start bringing in all these other guys that are taking your ice time, and you've been one of their guys and one of their puppies coming up, and now all of a sudden there's no ice time for you because of these other guys, that pissed me off.
I think we're going
But
to see a little
it,
bit of a
it
dip in
they
the transfer portal here in the next couple of years because
we
you have.
will.
I gotta take a leak.
Oh, go ahead. We'll run through the rest of the picks here while Wally comes back, and then if you want to dip out, go ahead.
Okay.
Um,
But I so you have the home teams winning. I actually have it the opposite. I have Miami losing at home and Mercyhurst winning, or Miami winning in Mercyhurst.
okay.
Um, and I'm
Bemidji,
trying to do this on the fly.
I've got mine written down too, so if you want to just keep track of yours, I'll just text you mine later.
Yeah, yeah, that works.
All right. Bemidji at North Dakota. I have North Dakota sweeping the series. I think they're playing too good right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right. So yeah, back to what we were talking about with the transfer portal. So a lot of the guys, it's still that everybody who played the COVID year was given an extra year. So if you were a senior, you got 1 extra year. If you were a junior,
That
2,
screwed everything up.
so on and so forth to the freshmen who are this year's seniors. So the freshmen who came in the COVID year, they get 5 years. Like that year doesn't count.
Really?
Yeah.
The problem though is with the North Dakota kids transferring out. They transferred out before the kids transferred in, for the most part.
Yeah.
When we were looking at it, because is it College Hockey News, or can't remember exactly
The
which
Rink Live.
website, the Rink Live. They have a tracker for transfers out and transfers in, and North Dakota had a shit ton going out before they got in.
They're first in the country.
Yeah, they're currently first
They
in the
are,
country.
and so that's. But they also have.
I mean, yeah.
It was kind of, one of the questions that we had going into the season. It wasn't so much the goaltending, because their goalie Ludwig Person, he was one of the best goalies in the country last year.
At Miami.
No doubt. At Miami, who was a terrible team.
I think they won 3 conference games last year.
And he's the one that would switch there, and now he's the goalie.
He's the goalie for North Dakota now.
And that man, that's
it
honestly,
was kind of...
honestly, if I gotta say what I gotta say is, no matter how our hockey careers went when we got to Western Michigan, if I did well and other guys didn't and didn't play as much, we knew we were Western Michigan Broncos for 4 years. We knew We were on the same team. We were there every season together, and I think it made me who I was in pro hockey, that I had those relationships with my teammates, that through the highs and the lows, your teammates, you're there together, your brothers for life. And now when kids can just transfer because things get tough, because you don't get enough ice time, because you don't get power play time, because you don't get penalty kill time, you can just transfer. Grow the fuck up and fucking figure it out. I honestly think they got it wrong with that. I think there were though times where there were players that would have wanted to transfer to Western Michigan because of the relationship they had with the coaches and the ice time. And but I think it's now turned into, as you call them, idiots. And the way I look at hockey is I coach a team. I coach an under 13 team from this town, and we are a team for the year, and we're gonna be a team, and that's what the Western Michigan Broncos were. And now with all this transfer shit, it's like it's turning NCAA hockey into the city people that think they can switch minor hockey teams every year to try and get little Johnny a better opportunity. It's like, well, you're not teaching your kid anything about being a teammate, about being a team, working through the hard times. Just because you're trying to get little Johnny more ice time, shouldn't he earn it? Shouldn't he figure
Mm-hmm.
out a way to earn it, then switch teams and go somewhere else? I get the goalie being awesome at Miami, going to North Dakota because he wants to play in the NHL and he wants to get the exposure. And being on a shitty team as a goalie may not always go that well because you can only stop so many pucks. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they can just switch teams is, it's like the rest of minor hockey and all of pro hockey in North America, where guys are in and out, and it's not a team. It's not the way the game was built, that you're supposed to be a team for the year. You're supposed to be in it for each other for the whole year, not just for your fucking self.
I think that what they should do if they want to get it right is they should open the portal to anybody that's going to be a junior or above, where you have 2 years in the program. If
Right.
once you figure out that you can't cut it at this team, that maybe because actually it's kind
It's
of
tough
funny,
though,
like
because
I'm
everything's
wearing one of my.
situational, right? Everything's situational.
It
Like
is, but
it,
like
I don't know
I'm
how you get it right. I don't know how you get loyalty in people and how to stick it out and be old school. I don't know how to do that either because
I think the freshmen, like, so we had UMD, we had two transfers this year and transferring out, and we had two guys come in, but one of the guys, believe it was Isaac Howard, he was getting playing time as a freshman last year. He was like he was kind of an integral part of the team. For whatever reason, he wanted to move on. Okay, that's fine, but dude, you're playing at more recently one of the more prestigious programs in the nation. What are you doing? And like, I get it. I that's why I would say after your sophomore year, because I'm right now I'm wearing one of my, I played D3 tennis. Good for me. But I barely played, but it was one of those where like I knew my ability. I knew where I was gonna be, and I didn't play that often, but I still got to play more. Well, I still got to play tennis. Basically, that's the moral of the story. I knew my ability. There are a lot of kids that their parents or somebody's telling them, "You're better than this. You're better than this," and then you look at the teams that they're transferring to. You're like, okay, well, you're gonna get playing time, but
well,
it's
that's yeah.
it's the exact opposite of what Person did, where he was there for what, 3 years,
Yeah.
Wes? Yeah, he was at Miami for 3 years, and UMD could not figure him out. and he's stopping 50 shots a game, 40, 50 shots a game. And finally he said, I've had enough. This team is terrible. I know I'm good. The pro ranks, they know he's good, but he's just not having the
Yeah,
wins. And so now he's going,
all
it's
about the
like,
rules,
yeah,
though. As soon as you give teams rules, they're gonna find any way they can to win, and the rules are the rules. And it sounds like North Dakota's winning.
this
Sorry,
year, last
let,
year, they were terrible.
well, I mean, there's only each year. Last year's over, but
Yeah.
I know. Well, I know.
anyways, Wes, so you were shutting her down. Is there anything else you got? Questions? And what else do you got before we shut her down?
I think we have just 2 more picks. We have
Well, here, I'll
St.
throw it to you.
Cloud's.
Is there anything you got a
ahead.
question about either the current program, Kalamazoo in general, that you want to throw out there? Or maybe some information you've tried to acquire from some Western Michigan players that they may not have the answer to?
Honestly, it'd be curious. I'm curious to go back. I'm curious to see what it's like now. I have my memories of what the place looked like, what the arena looked like, the people that were there running it.
I'll tell you that Lawson probably looks the same, the most like you remember, other than there's
uh,
new video boards.
and I know what it looks like, and that's what's cool for me is through my hockey career, I met a few people, and like I I remember being the college player on the bench playing the game and seeing the NHL scouts in the crowd, and I literally couldn't handle it. Like I knew there were some people there to watch me sometimes, and I'd see them up there, and I don't know what it was. Like I would be so worried about what they were seeing, and I just wasn't ready as a player, as a person, to be able to deal with that pressure. Um, I'm now getting pictures, videos sent to me of my buddies who are now NHL scouts at Western Michigan, sending me pictures of me on the wall or whatever it is, or the Lawson Lunatics and the game's about to start, and I'm getting NHL scouts sending me videos, and I'm thinking, isn't it weird how the tables have turned where I'm not the kid out there all nervous as fuck? I'm actually texting with the scout up in the crowd, right?
Yeah. Hey,
It's
they just started. You can now buy beer at Lawson.
oh dear.
Yeah.
That's gonna get carried
that
away.
that is actually the perfect reaction
Is
to that statement.
is that real?
Yeah, they just started that the last series against St. Cloud.
Holy moly. Shits.
Yeah,
I remember playing games where like all of a sudden they're all going crazy and then you just see a whole section like move and you're like, oh, someone just threw up for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
see, this is why I should not go to Lawson. Okay,
Well, I don't sit near
I
the students anymore, you dill hole. I have season tickets in the seat backs behind the
I
opposing
said,
goalie.
well,
I do
Oh,
it
you
right.
gotta get in the student section. Grow up. Get in there. Get involved.
Yeah,
no,
I spent my
Wes,
time in there. My knees are sick of standing on
Yeah,
that
you take it your
cement
daughter.
floor for
Don't get
three.
involved with the student section, but
Wes,
Standing
if
on
you
that.
don't have a kid there, get involved. Why are you passing out in hotels so early? Toughen
Wes,
up.
I was saying for myself. So now, well, we're this far into it. I'll tell a story from Nashville. So we go there and we're
Oh,
trying to
Michael.
figure out. I know, but and I'm prolonging this, but
This is your fault now.
we're trying to figure out what where this Western game is going to be played. And so Wes had never been to Nashville. I had been there a couple times. So I'm like, I want to hit this bar, this bar, this bar, this bar. So we're going down Broadway. And every place we're going, I'm having a drink or two. And then I had some drinks in my room and I went to the hotel bar and all of a sudden I'm feeling pretty good. We drive to their practice rink, the Predators practice rink. And we're sitting down and I'm like, well, I'm going to go wander around, see what happens. They have a bar in their practice rink. I order a whiskey and Coke. Little did I know it was 2-for-1s.
Mhm.
So all of a sudden I have 2 whiskey Cokes appear in front of me. I'm like, I was next to some Northeastern fans. And the fucking guy goes, "Oh, well, yeah, they're 2-for-1s." Oh shit, I did not need this because I was about 3 sheets to the wind at that point. So I pound down enough of one, little of the other, fill up the one, so I come back with one of the others. I go up and I didn't want to make Wes move his legs. Just being polite, whatever. I'm like, I can just hop up on this bench, and it's like high school stadium bleacher seating. I go to lift my leg up. I start to slip. I start falling down. As Wes says, it was in slow motion. I'm just reaching out to grab anything to catch my fall.
Oh, you grabbed anything, all right. That poor
My
woman.
hand plants firmly on the ass of this woman that was sitting next to us.
Oh dear.
Just straight.
Grabbed her butt.
Oh no. He had a full
So
cup and then shoved her and her entire family 6 feet down the bench by
He's
the
right in
ass.
one. Right in one.
I get up. I look. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. She was not happy because partly because I grabbed her ass, but I think mostly because I
Well,
had spilled part of my drink on her shoes,
that could do it
and
too.
she was you could tell she was a little bougie.
Mm. Or
She
you
ended
were
up
just a lot to handle at that point.
oh, I was a mess.
Yeah, I don't know if she's that bougie or whatever
Well,
you
little
call it,
column A, little column B.
Her husband then switches spots with her because she did not want to be next to me, and I start apologizing to him. I'm like, I am
right.
so sorry,
But you're
dude.
also
Like,
twisted, and you're probably not saying it correctly. Okay, I
no,
got you. I know what drunk people are like. I've
uh,
been around them.
Oh yeah.
yeah, but I'm like, dude, like I don't know what happened, whatever. And he goes, no, dude, you're fine. She was that way last night. So I did. Then I didn't feel that bad. I was like, okay, if she was that twisted last night, then even if I'm this schmammered, we're good. She knows what it's like.
All right, let's finish up
Yeah.
these picks and get Mike out of here.
All right.
Augustana at
So-
Omaha, newcomer. Augustana, who's playing extremely well. Some big wins already. I'm going to say they split Omaha Friday, Augustana Saturday.
The fuck is Augustana?
New
They're in,
college in South Dakota just joined the CCHA. Is that where they're going?
There's
Or
a CCHA still?
yeah, so
there's a new CCHA.
yeah,
What the? Don't even bother. Don't. Let's not get all into all that.
yeah,
I
we
don't-
get into that
yeah.
later.
I don't even know what the hell the West. I know Western Michigan was a CCHA team when I played, and now they switched, and now
They're in
play
the
all these other
NCHC.
teams. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? Now we don't even play the same teams. Like, what the hell?
Nope,
So,
I guess Miami.
Augustana is they're in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and this is their first full year as a Division One program. They announced it a couple years ago. They did beat
Denver
they-
and Colorado College.
yeah, they beat Denver and Colorado College this
And
year.
I think they beat St. Cloud State too, or did they like tie with St. Cloud? Did they play St. Cloud State?
No, I think that was St. Thomas. But anyway, I have Omaha sweeping that one. And then
Michigan at St. Cloud State. I have a St. Cloud State sweep. Because fuck Michigan.
I think
Them and all their number one or their goddamn top draft picks.
St. Cloud wins Friday, loses Saturday. And then one more. I thought
Yell at Denver. That's a
Yep.
sweep for Denver.
Yep, sweep for Denver. That one's pretty easy.
You guys got hats too, eh? I see your hat there finally. It says Goal Horns and Fight Songs.
Yeah, I
made
us each
what-
a hat.
Wes made it, and it's a
Love it.
trucker hat. I mean, I lost my Vikings hat somewhere in my room, which
Eh.
I don't know how I did that.
No,
but
like it, honestly though, if like to bring it back to my shit is like I was done in the game. I wasn't. I was out of it, and then to start all this stuff that like I'm getting sent pictures of people wearing my shirts and hats, and they're at different arenas all over the world, and it was from talking to my friends in my shed, and then to see where it's all gone is like this is as bizarre as it gets because like I
Right.
don't have sponsors. I just do it myself. I do it like you guys do. I just reach out to my friends and be like, "Hey, you want to chat?" And they all do, and then I knew it was going to work because hockey guys want to get to talk about what they've all done and their old experiences. And like, there was a time where a lot of the guys I had on were retired guys, and my friends. And now I've gotten into some active guys, and I've gotten into the active game now. And I mean, being a part of the game is way more fun than being out of it.
Yeah, it's super fun listening to your conversations, especially, Wes and I, we're just two idiots that
So
blow hot
am
air out of our faces, but
So am
you've played it, you've played it professionally, and you have some cool guests on, so it's really enjoyable to listen to you and your podcast because you get some great conversations out of it. So I know Wes enjoys it, I really enjoy it, so it's been fun having you on.
No, seriously, thanks for having me on, guys. I don't know how you thought to reach out to me, but like, no matter how many people listen, when someone reaches out and says, "Cause Western Michigan's having 50 years of hockey," and then even said like the L word. Um, when I left Western Michigan, I would say I felt like a failure because we didn't win. We didn't win anything, and I'm a bit too competitive that way, and I maybe take a little bit too much on myself than the team. But when someone reaches out and says something like that, and you haven't been forgotten at Western Michigan, and even if it was the dark time and I was a part of it and I was the guy, um, it does mean a lot when someone reaches out and wants to talk hockey and yeah, calls you a legend of Bronco hockey. That can mean a lot because I that's what I wanted deep down in my soul. That's what I tried to do, but we didn't win enough, and I've never considered myself anything close to it because the real legends are the people that got everybody to buy in and win and found a way to do it. And that's what I had a hard time with when I left school. Maybe I'm a bit too competitive, but I just wanted to win so fucking bad. And then when you don't do it and you just kind of move on with life, and then pro doesn't go the way you hoped it would or anticipated. But like I said, I'm out the other side, and I have like geez, like a whole hockey family or shed family of people that will come on and talk to me at any point of any time of day. And if I have an hour or two free in a day, I can find someone to talk with me hockey, and it will be an interesting name and person, which to think of is it maybe I did make it just in a different way, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. And I stand by everything I said. I think your individual stats are up there with some of the best that have ever come through the program. I think the influence you had on the guys that came after you, and listening to the pod that you've had with those guys, I think that has made you a legend in the Bronco locker room. Uh, they passed some of that on to the guys after them, and it's
That turned
been a
it around,
cycle.
right?
I
Yeah.
I 100% believe that it definitely played a part in it, and
Thank you.
so even though like you said, the wins and losses may not have come, but I think you left Bronco hockey better than you found it, and it's in a really good spot now. And I hope that you get a chance to enjoy some of that, whether that's you bringing your team down here and hanging out at a game, or
It'd be the coolest thing ever, dude.
and
It'd
given
be
given those dudes an experience of a lifetime, seeing the Lost and Lunatics for
and
as a fan.
it'd be given back to what hockey's given me, right? It's like
Exactly.
I got a wife, kids, and she's from Western Michigan. My my best friends in the world are Broncos. Everything hockey gave me, to think of giving it back to the kids nowadays, it's like I want to bring those kids to Kalamazoo, and I'm gonna fucking do it.
So
And
yeah.
watch me.
I mean, any game that you pick is going to be a great game. Western's in a great conference. We schedule a solid non-conference schedule. Like it's going to be good, top tier D1 hockey, and it's going to be
Yeah.
an experience that they'll never forget.
Hey, that's what I'm all about. It's like doing
And
this
it,
shit. It's like it's experiences you never forget. It's like once
yeah,
you sit down with someone and you talk, you remember that night. And like we could have done anything else. We could have sat on our couch and watched, streamed a show. We came out here and we did this, and you remember this night because it's something different than just sitting on your ass, right?
exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys, and this has been a blast.
Hell yeah, no, I've
Yeah.
enjoyed every minute of it. The great stories, the long questions. We'll have to do it again for sure. We'll have to have you on again, and maybe it'll be after, even if it's after you get down here, you get to tell us about your experience as a
Relive it
fan.
all, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never been a fan, never missed a game for 4 years at Western Michigan. Never missed one. So I've never been a fan of that arena.
I think there was a stretch where I did not miss a single home game as a student. As an adult, it's been a little bit harder, work, kid.
I do understand.
So,
Yeah.
but I'm getting back into it. And I'm definitely paying attention every game that they got. So, yeah, let me know.
You can only invest yourself into so many teams, man. I got a lot of shit going on these
Exactly.
days.
But if you do make it down, hit me up. We'll have to.
I am gonna make it down,
We'll
and
have to
we
make
are
sure to
coming.
get a good handshake in there.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man, for sure. Well, obviously, you guys have a passion for hockey. I love that shit, and thank you so much for having me on. It does mean a lot for a guy that didn't win enough, scored enough, but didn't win enough. And when you leave, it's tough, right? Because goals and assists mean whatever, but if your team sucks, it's really not fun.
No,
And it's great to see the
I
Broncos back to where they should be and where they should have been.
absolutely. I think
Go
we'll
Broncos.
go Broncos. We'll call it there. Have a good night, everybody.